Chapter 1288. Overwhelming Tier 3 Demons. After hearing Shifeng's command, both Anna and Kite set their sights on the demonic hunters guarding the herb garden. Demonic Hunter. Dark Creature. Demon. Level 70. HP 35, 000, 000/35, 000, 000. Compared to monsters, demons had less HP. In return though, their intellect was much higher. In addition, they had many skills at their disposal. If given the choice, players would rather fight dumb monsters than demons of the same tier. The instant Anna and Kite set foot into the herb garden, they attracted the demonic hunter's attention. Intruders, you dare set trespass into Lord Raymond's territory. You shall pay with your lives. The two demonic hunters bellowed as they promptly retrieved the great swords from their backs. They both charged at Anna, the summoner. Not only were the demonic hunters faster than the Silver Moon Rat King, but their combat standards were also higher. Moreover, they knew how to coordinate as each of them activated demonic charge from two different directions, their movement speed increasing instantly. When the two demonic hunters were only 30 yards away, Anna slammed the butt of her staff on the ground and pointed a finger towards the sky. As she did so, she finished chanting her incantation's final verse. Suddenly, a massive, golden magic array appeared before her. Silver magic arrays also appeared around Anna, one after another, surrounding the summoner. When the two demonic hunters were only 15 yards away, a golden giant emerged from the golden magic array. The golden giant served as a gatekeeper as it stood in the demon hunter's path. This move was the Tier 2 curse Anna had learned, Song of Summoning. It allowed her to summon a Tier 3 golden giant to aid her. 10 Tier 2 rock guardians also appeared from the silver magic arrays around Anna. In the blink of an eye, Anna had summoned a monster army. Golden Giant, Elemental Being, Great Lord. Level 72. HP 77, 000, 000/77, 000, 000. Rock Guardian, Elemental Being, Lord. Level 72. HP 31, 000, 000/31, 000, 000. Although the two demonic hunters tried to circle the summoned creatures and attack Anna directly, the summoner had prepared for this. With a light wave of her staff, she fired several elemental bullets at the demonic hunters. Dang, dang, dang. The two demonic hunters responded quickly by blocking the bullets with their greatswords. However, the golden giant appeared behind the two demonic hunters, its fists descending on their heads. Boom! -415,797. -420,187. The impact blasted a large hole in the ground. At this point, Anna had finished writing another set of runes. She then flicked her finger at these runes. Immediately, these runes embedded themselves into the 10 rock guardians' bodies, who had already surrounded the two demonic hunters. As these runes merged with the rock guardians, a golden magic array formed around the two demonic hunters. Although the demonic hunters attacked the barrier, it remained intact as the rock guardians split the damage equally. Moreover, this magic array granted the rock guardians a 10% increase to their basic attributes, and reduced the demonic hunters' basic attributes by 15%. With this, it became even more difficult for the demonic hunters to kill the rock guardians and break free from the magic barrier. So strong. Xueqi was quite impressed. Although he had long since known that an epic personal guard had extraordinary potential, he never imagined that Anna would grow to the point of being capable of suppressing two Tier 3 demons all by herself. If a player of the same tier fought Anna, she would overwhelm them until their death. Not to mention, Anna still had her epic ranked legacy skill, Angel Summoning. Whether in a one-on-one fight or a group fight, Anna had no weaknesses. Suddenly, the Sword Master Kite charged into the magic array and slashed his fragmented legendary sword at one of the demonic hunters. The targeted demonic hunter responded quickly, slashing its great sword horizontally and easily deflecting this attack. However, the instant the demonic hunter blocked the attack, it was forced to retreat by half a step. Immediately after, over a dozen wind blades struck the demonic hunter from multiple directions. -44,671. minus 44,598. Minus 45,102. In the blink of an eye, the demonic hunter lost over 500,000 HP. Kite was clearly superior in both strength and speed. After watching his personal guard's performance for a short moment, Xueqi joined the battle. Although both Kite and Anna could overwhelm the Tier 3 demons, the demons were different from the Silver Moon Rat King. Both had battle recovery, which allowed them to recover 350,000 HP every 5 seconds. It would take quite some time to kill them. After Xueqi, the demonic flame tiger, and the 2 Tier 2 demons joined the battle, their overall damage skyrocketed. When any of his allies began to run low on HP, Xueqi switched to the aura of water and cast Life Bloom. In less than half an hour, both level 70, Tier 3 demons fell. Once they died, Xueqi's experience bar had risen to 82% of level 50. Sure enough, only Great Lords grant EXP here. Glancing at his experience bar, Xueqi gained a general understanding on some of the Dark Canyon's rules. He then shifted his gaze to the loot drop the 2 demonic hunters had dropped. Due to divine providence, the demonic hunters had dropped a total of 9 7 luminary shards and 2 pieces of level 60 fine gold equipment. They had also dropped 2 small pouches. Opening the pouches, Xueqi discovered that they actually contained seeds. The 2 pouches combined contained a total of 27 seeds. The monsters here drop seeds? Xueqi was somewhat confused. This was the first time he had obtained seeds after killing a monster. Normally, one could only obtain seeds from NPC merchants or opening treasure chests. Following which, Xueqi curiously checked the seeds attribute panel. Mutated rainbow tree seeds. Survival rate increased by 20%. Amount of rainbow fruit produced during each maturity cycle increased by 30%. There is a chance to produce mutated rainbow fruit. What? These are rainbow tree seeds. Xueqi was momentarily stunned. Fruit trees in God's domain were different from herbs. They would not disappear once harvested. Instead, the tree would continue to bear fruit as long as one nurtured it properly. Only, the fruit's maturity cycle was a little longer than herbs. One could easily purchase an ordinary fruit tree seeds from NPC merchants for relatively cheap. However, rare tree seeds were much more expensive, not to mention the rainbow tree seeds. In the past, one such seed easily sold for 400 gold. Unfortunately, rainbow trees had a very low survival rate of roughly 20%. Hence, if one wished to their own, it would cost around 2,000 gold. If one were unlucky, the seeds might cost them as much as 4,000 gold. The rainbow tree seeds were so expensive because rainbow fruits could produce rainbow wine. Not only was the wine delicious, but its effects could also rival the 100-berry wine. Moreover, the rainbow wine's effects lasted much longer. The mutated rainbow tree seeds, however, likely cost several times more than ordinary rainbow tree seeds. After all, the seeds boasted such a high survival rate. These trees would also produce more fruit than usual. Most importantly, they had a chance of growing mutated rainbow fruit. After Xueqi collected the loot, he chose to unsummon his personal guards, letting Anna and Kite return to their original locations. However, despite numerous attempts, the system notified him that he had failed to unsummon the NPCs. Sure enough, I can't send them back. It seems that I'll have to unsummon them after completing the quest. Xueqi could not help but sigh. However, when he shifted his gaze to the soul flowers and rare herbs that filled the herb garden, his mood instantly lifted. There was even a large number of moonlight fruit waiting to be harvested. He had to admit that an Azura mode promotion quest was wonderful. Xueqi collected the rare herbs and moonlight fruits frantically while waiting for the soul flowers to mature. Normally, soul flowers needed 3 to 4 days to reach maturity. However, due to Raymond's magic array, these only needed around 6 hours. Time passed very quickly. By the time Xueqi collected the soul flowers, his bag space was nearly full. It's about time for me to log off, Xueqi thought as he looked at the real-world clock. It was almost time for the White Tiger Dojo's friendly competition. As the Big Dipper's head instructor, he couldn't be absent from the event. He then chose to log out and disappeared from the herb garden. Rainbow fruit. Rainbow fruit in Chapter 1005 changed to 7-colored fruit. Chapter 1289. Difference caused due to time. Jinhai City, City Center Sports Arena. The sun shone brightly in the midday sky. At this moment, however, the glaring, scorching sun couldn't stop the enthusiasm of the crowd gathered in front of the sports arena. A sea of people waited outside the arena, which could accommodate 50,000 people. The White River Dojo had been advertising the friendly competition for some time. Advertisements decorated the city streets. Including Jinhai City, a total of 6 cities planned to participate. It was the grandest competition so far this year. In an era where everyone valued physical fitness, nothing was more popular than a fighting competition. Today was also a Saturday, and everyone had the free time to watch the competition. After all, this competition involved fighting experts from 6 cities. It could be considered a contest between these cities. Many had come to support their own local fighters. In order to spread the news thoroughly, the White Tiger Dojo had specifically invited many of these cities' important fighters to spectate. Seeing luxury hovercars arrive before the VIP entrance, one after another, the people lined up in front of the normal entrance gasped. Every individual that alighted from these vehicles were even more extraordinary. Isn't that Elder Su? He's attending this event as well. Ha! Isn't that Master Chen Wu? While the crowd watched in rapture, influential people entered the arena. Feng had also just arrived at the sports arena by car. As he had been occupied with gathering herbs, Xiao Yu and the others, finding it inappropriate to disturb him, had decided to head to the venue first. Hence, Feng had arrived alone. As soon as Feng emerged from the car, he was surprised. However, his surprise wasn't due to the number of spectators. Rather, he was surprised to see so many contestants. A line of people had queued up at the contestant entrance. There were at least 300 people in line at the moment. It was already enough to rival a provincial-level fighting competition. As Feng waited for Liang Jing to retrieve him, he noticed quite a few familiar faces in front of spectator entrance number 5. They were none other than Zhou Yuhu and his previous classmates. Brother Hu, you really are impressive. You even got your hands on entrance tickets. When I showed off my ticket, my classmates were so jealous. A robust youth with a long nose and beady eyes praised Zhou Yuhu. That's nothing to Brother Hu. Brother Hu is famous at our school. Not only did he pass the professional fighters test and officially become a reserve professional fighter, but he is also one of the few Shadow Guild experts in our school. It is a piece of cake for him to get a few tickets to this competition. A youth wearing a t-shirt proudly proclaimed. Amazing! Brother Hu has become a reserve professional fighter. In that case, won't he become an actual professional fighter in 1 or 2 years? At this moment, several tall beautiful female students gazed at Qin Shuyu, who stood beside Zhou Yuhu, in envy and admiration. Senior Shuyu, you really are blessed. You actually nabbed Brother Hu for yourself. It was extremely difficult to become a professional fighter. One needed talent. Becoming a professional fighter also meant earning a high income. If one became one of the top 10 fighters in the city, living in a high-end residence and owning a luxury car would be possible. If one became a champion, they would gain a lot of influence and wouldn't have to worry about money for the rest of their life. What are you girls talking about? Qin Shuyu, who wore a blue blouse and short skirt, pretended to get angry. However, her eyes contained a faint trace of pride. As the group chatted merrily, Zhou Yuhu noticed Feng, who waited in the distance. Ha! Isn't that Feng? Hearing Zhou Yuhu's words, everyone turned to look. These people more or less knew about the history between Feng and Zhou Yuhu. Feng had defeated Zhou Yuhu in a single move, instantly becoming famous in the university. However, it had been quite some time since they had seen Feng as, shortly after his fight with Zhou Yuhu, he had vanished. Feng wore a dark blue tracksuit. Compared to several months ago, he had built up quite a bit of muscle. He gave off an indescribable sense of familiarity. Why is he here? Qin Shuyu watched Feng in confusion. After the fellowship party, Feng had cut off all connections with his classmates. After graduating from university, she had heard that Feng had joined a considerably powerful gaming workshop and was doing fairly well. I suppose he's here to watch the competition. Watch the competition? I doubt that. If that was the case, He should be in line for one of the spectator entrances rather than relaxing on a bench. He graduated already, yet he's still going around wearing a tracksuit. I guess he hasn't done that well. Sure enough, those rumors about him becoming powerful were lies. Senior Xueqi, it seems your decision back then had been a wise one. I wish my eyes were as keen as yours. The group praised Zhou Yuhu, one after another. After all, the difference between Zhou Yuhu and Shifeng was obvious. One was a nobody, working for some gaming workshop, while the other was an upper echelon in the well-known Shadow Workshop. Moreover, not only was Zhou Yuhu the envy of white-collar workers, but he was also a reserve professional fighter. As long as he could pass the city's qualifiers within 3 years, he would officially become a professional fighter. Every dojo and training center in the city would offer high pay to recruit him. Senior Xueqi, why don't we invite him to join us? We have an extra ticket. Letting it go to waste would be a pity. That's right. There are people willing to buy back row tickets for 1,500 credits. It would be a loss to hold on to it. In any case, he must want one. We can sell it to him for 1,200 credits. Consider it doing him a favor. Zhou Yuhu and Qin Shuyu agreed with the suggestion. Obtaining these tickets hadn't been cheap. Even back row tickets cost 500 credits through official channels. Originally, they had bought just enough tickets, but one of their party wasn't able to attend due to some urgent matter. If they did nothing with the ticket, they would have thrown away 500 credits. By selling it to Shifeng, they could earn a quick buck and ridicule their old classmate. All right then. In any case, holding on to it would be a waste. Since we are old classmates, and we haven't seen him for some time, we can use this opportunity to catch up. Qin Shuyu nodded. However, after taking a few steps forward, Qin Shuyu noticed a gorgeous beauty with 4 black-clad bodyguards in tow approach Shifeng gracefully. This woman, wearing an exquisite business suit, even made Qin Shuyu feel ugly. She was none other than Liang Jing. Head instructor Shi, you finally decided to show up. Let's hurry inside. Chairman Xiao and the others are already waiting anxiously for you. Had you been any later, they would have fetched your gaming cabin with you inside. Liang Jing grumbled when she saw Shifeng's leisurely behavior. Aren't I here now? Shifeng chuckled. Let's go. Hearing Shifeng's words, Liang Jing led him through the VIP entrance. Although the several security guards at the entrance wanted to verify their identities, when they saw Liang Jing produce a gold-plated VIP invitation card, they halted their steps and stood aside respectfully. Crap, who are those people? They have a gold invitation card. I thought the White Tiger Dojo had only given out 20 of those. As Shifeng and Liang Jing entered the building, the security guard stated after them in surprise. If the 20 golden invitation cards were split evenly among the 6 cities invited, each city would only get 3 or 4 cards. Only those whom the White Tiger Dojo valued would receive 1. Meanwhile, Zhou Yuhu and the others, who waited in front of the spectators' entrance, were dumbfounded, their eyes nearly falling out of their sockets. Chapter 1290. Display of Strength. How is this possible? Doesn't he work for a gaming workshop? Qin Shuyu stared at Shifeng incredulously as the latter entered the VIP entrance. She couldn't believe her eyes. Every person she had watched go in through that entrance was an influential fighter in Jinhai City. Yet Shifeng boldly walked through the doors. Moreover, even the security guards had treated him with respect. How was he not doing well after graduating? He had risen to an entirely different level. So the rumors were true. Her companions' jaws had dropped as they stared at the VIP entrance. When they thought about how they had planned to sell Shifeng a back row ticket, they realized the idea was laughable. Fortunately, they had not actually tried to sell him the ticket. Otherwise, they would have humiliated themselves. Senior Xueqi, aren't you very familiar with Senior Shifeng? I'm very interested in gaming. If there is an opportunity, would you introduce us? A petite girl with big, round eyes and cherry-red lips asked Qin Shuyu with anticipation. If there is an opportunity, I'll introduce you, Qin Shuyu muttered, wearing an indescribably awkward expression. Meanwhile, in the sports arena's VIP hall, upper echelons from the various dojos and training centers, as well as influential figures from the various cities, had gathered, chatting merrily. Only, despite the sounds of laughter that filled the hall, an intense hostility snapped between them. When 3 of the White Tiger Dojo's people entered, practically every upper echelon shifted their gazes to the newcomers. Among these 3, the one leading the group was a middle-aged man in his mid-30s. The man gave off a peaceful aura. Of the 2 men beside him, one was Xingting, the representative instructor for Jinhai City's White Tiger Dojo, while the other was Xueqi, White Tiger Dojo's rising star. What? Zhang Tianyuan is here. Seeing as Zhang Tianyuan is attending, this competition must be quite important to the White Tiger Dojos. When the crowd saw the middle-aged man, Zhang Tianyuan, they spoke in hushed whispers. In the fighting world, Zhang Tianyuan had been a superstar in the past. He had participated in multiple international competitions and had placed quite well. During his youth, he had been practically unrivaled among his peers within the country. The White Tiger Dojo had raised him to the position of advanced instructor at a very young age. He had even become a hall master, managing over a dozen branches. Zhang Tianyuan was definitely one of the White Tiger Dojo's core upper echelons. Even the dojo's head hall master treated him with respect. The fact that such an important figure had set foot in a backwater city like Jinhai City proved that the White Tiger Dojo intended to do anything possible to win this competition. The minor dojos and training centers clearly had no chance of winning. Chiwen, are the arrangements for the competition complete? Zhang Tianyuan asked quietly after he greeted the various VIPs. Hallmaster, everything is complete. Once this competition is over, the White Tiger Dojo will secure all 6 cities, Xueqi reported, smiling. Good then. Zhang Tianyuan nodded. However, I heard that the Big Dipper Dojo has a few skilled fighters. I've also heard that Lei Bao is now one of their instructors. Make sure our competitors do not grow complacent. Hallmaster, rest assured. We've investigated the Big Dipper Dojo situation. Among their 20-year-old and younger members, none are exceptional. I am sure that some other dojo or training center will deal with Big Dipper before we have to, Xueqi said confidently. If the woman named Fire Dance, who had defeated Xingting in a single move, took part in this competition, they would have to take Big Dipper seriously. However, none of the dojo's new members had any talent to speak of, much less strength. Compared to the Big Dipper Dojo, the other dojos and training centers posed were a greater threat. Right. Who have you chosen to be our 3rd representative in this competition? Zhang Tianyuan asked. I've heard that both Yu Ziping and Liao Huajie have performed considerably well thus far. Although Liao Huajie is one of the main branch's elites, Yu Ziping is nearly skilled enough to become an advanced apprentice. After some discussion, we've decided on Liao Huajie as our 3rd representative. At the end of the day, Yu Ziping is too young. Although Yu Ziping has the advantage when it comes to the basics, he doesn't have as much combat experience as Liao Huajie, Xueqi explained, smiling. What a pity. This is a good opportunity to accumulate experience. After all, that child is quite talented. After Zhang Tianyuan considered the matter, he agreed with Xueqi. The competition was extremely important. If it weren't, he would not mind letting Yu Ziping take part in it instead. However, Zhang Tianyuan only played with this thought. After all, neither Liao Huajie nor Yu Ziping was skilled enough to attract his attention. He had only asked because Yu Ziping was one of his daughter's friends. Elsewhere in the arena. Head Instructor Shi, you're finally here. When Xiao Yu saw Shi Feng enter the room, he hurriedly welcomed the latter. Anxiously he asked, how is the team coming along? The competition was about to start, yet the Big Dipper's chairman was utterly unfamiliar with his team's condition. To make matters worse, quite a few influential figures within Jinhai City were concerned and had repeatedly asked him about Big Dipper's representatives. Meanwhile, he could only smile in response. He didn't have any answers for them. They should be all right, Shi Feng said, chuckling. Hearing Shi Feng's vague reply, Xiao Yu was speechless. He even wondered if Shi Feng was concerned at all. However, Xiao Yu's requirement wasn't overly high. As long as they didn't lose too miserably, he'd be satisfied. After all, the White Tiger Dojo had dispatched its elites from the main branch. Although Xiao Yu tried to say something more, the bell signaled the start of the competition. Everyone immediately turned towards the arena. The large sports arena, which was capable of accommodating 50,000 spectators, was filled to the brim. The venue was extremely lively, and even some of the contestants, who participated in fighting competitions frequently, grew tense. Of all the people that had applied to join the competition, a total of 768 people had qualified. These people would be divided into 32 groups of 24. Only one person from each group would proceed to the official competition. It was a cruel elimination round. Each dojo and training center's 3 contestants would be divided into different groups. 32 platforms had been set up inside the arena. Hence, all 32 groups could compete simultaneously without wasting time. The audience would get their fill of exciting fights. A virtual screen had also been set up in the arena's center, displaying the winners of each round. Naturally, the more winners a dojo or training center possessed, the more powerful they would be. The results would allow the audience to judge just how strong the various dojos and training centers were. Although the White Tiger Dojo called this a friendly match, everyone knew that it was a ploy to show off its strength and the difference between itself and the other organizations. Following which, the contestants entered the arena. They moved towards the platform corresponding to their groups. Seeing the various contestants, the audience seated grew excited. Isn't that Gu Chen, one of the White Tiger Dojo's geniuses? A frequent participant in the national competition is actually taking part in this competition. Ha! Isn't that Beauty Yuqing? I heard that she is a female genius second only to Tang Jingyao in the White Tiger Dojo. If she's here as well, there's no need for this competition. The final match will definitely be between Yuqing and Gu Chen. As the audience watched the White Tiger Dojo's representatives approach the stages, they were stunned. Meanwhile, the various dojos and training centers' upper echelons paled at the sight. With 2 of the White Tiger Dojo's geniuses participating in this competition, how could they compete? Xueqi, who watched from the VIP stands, suddenly noticed a familiar figure on platform number 14. This figure was none other than Yu Ziping. Why is he here? Xueqi was flabbergasted. Chapter 1291. Death Group. So, you secretly applied for the qualifiers, knowing that you wouldn't be chosen as a representative? Xueqi's expression darkened as he glared at Yu Ziping on platform number 14. You really are a resilient bastard. Xueqi knew that Yu Ziping was chasing after Jiang Tinyuan's daughter, Jiang Mengyun. Originally, he had planned to cause some trouble for Yu Ziping, forcing the boy to retreat. However, he hadn't expected Yu Ziping to disregard his kindness, much less join the competition without approval. Following which, Xueqi sent Gu Chen, Yu Yiqing, and Liao Huajie a message. The contents were simple. Cripple Yu Ziping and prevent him from continuing in the fighting world. Hopefully, you don't disqualify too quickly. Xueqi sneered as he looked at Yu Ziping. He had to admit that Yu Ziping was quite lucky. Among the White Tiger Dojo's 3 representatives, none were assigned to platform number 14. If he wished to take Yu Ziping out, he had to wait until the boy won the elimination round. As long as Yu Ziping won in the elimination round, he would be easy to deal with. Although this was only a friendly competition, injuries were common in any fighting competition. For an elite like Gu Chen, accidentally crippling Yu Ziping in a fight would be a piece of cake. Even if Yu Ziping could recover, a mere disciple with no background wouldn't be able to afford the treatment. Suddenly, Gan Xingting approached Xueqi, respectfully handing his superior a folder. Boss, here's the detailed report on the dojos and training centers representatives that you asked for. Good job. Xueqi nodded, casually browsing through the information. He was responsible for handling the occupation of the 6 cities. This was the first important task the White Tiger Dojo had assigned him. Naturally, his performance had to be flawless. Although he didn't expect anyone from the 6 cities to defeat his dojo's representatives, he had Gang Xingting investigate any noteworthy opponents. Among the 6 cities, there were only 3 noteworthy opponents: the Martial Heaven Dojo, White Cloud Dojo, and Big Dipper Dojo. Among the 3, the Martial Heaven Dojo and White Cloud Dojo deserved the most attention. After all, these 2 were considerably famous in the past. Only, their fame had fallen considerably since then. However, they were still capable of nurturing national fighters once every few years. The martial arts master, Lei Bao, was the only reason the Big Dipper Dojo was considered a worthy foe. They also had Fire Dance, who was suspected of being a martial arts master as well. With these two masters, the Big Dipper Dojo might have some hidden trump cards. As Xueqi read through the files, however, he noticed a familiar name, Yu Zipping. Moreover, Yu Zipping was representing the Big Dipper Dojo. Seeing this, Xueqi was momentarily stunned. He was utterly dumbfounded by Yu Zipping's foolishness. Had Yu Zipping joined the competition as an individual, the youth would retain his identity as a White Tiger Dojo intermediate disciple. If that were the case, he couldn't do anything too drastic against the youth. After all, Jiang Tianyuan was watching. However, the situation had changed. By representing another organization, Yu Zipping had severed all ties with the White Tiger Dojo. Even if he crippled the boy, Jiang Tianyuan wouldn't interfere. On the contrary, Jiang Tianyuan would be pleased. After all, no one tolerated a traitor. Since you're asking for a beating, I'll gladly give you one. Xueqi sneered. However, something is off about this Big Dipper Dojo. Were they unable to find suitable candidates? They're actually willing to work with members from other dojos. Although the information regarding Shadow Sword and Turtledove showed that both had participated in their own city's professional qualifiers, they had never passed the elimination rounds to become official professional fighters. This year was their last opportunity to surpass their status of reserve professional fighters. Even in weaker dojos, people like Shadow Sword and Turtledove were a dime a dozen. They were only slightly stronger than the Big Dipper Dojo's new members. I have really overestimated them. Xueqi turned to look at Shifeng and the others, who sat in the VIP stands, his sneer still plastered on his face. It would be a pity to keep such interesting information to ourselves. Xingting, notify the text to switch the main screens to these three people when it's their turn to fight. I want everyone to watch the Big Dipper Dojo's performance. There were 4 virtual screens set up in the center of the arena to give the audience a better view of the fights. However, due to the number of platforms, only the interesting matches were broadcast. As the host of the competition, the White Tiger Dojo could choose any particular fight to broadcast. When choosing to join a dojo or training center, fighters usually based their selection on the establishment's capability to nurture its members. If it was well known that if a dojo's members were weak, no one would join it, regardless of who the instructors were. Boss, rest assured, I'll make sure that they are the main focus of the competition, Gon Xingting said. Meanwhile, in the VIP stands. When Xiao Yu read the information Shifeng had provided regarding the Big Dipper Dojo's representatives, he very nearly fainted. He had met these 3 people when they had arrived at the sports arena. However, he didn't know much about them. Now that Xiao Yu had read the reports, he regretted not holding Shifeng back. He felt that Shifeng had underestimated the 6 cities' various dojos and training centers. After all, of the dojo's representatives, 2 were not even professional fighters. They were merely reserves. Even if Big Dipper were weak, it was more than capable of hiring professional fighters to assist them. Yet Shifeng had chosen reserve fighters. Moreover, the only professional fighter was a White Tiger Dojo disciple. If the 2 reserve fighters performed badly, and they had to rely on the White Tiger Dojo's disciple to achieve victory, others would still assume that the White Tiger Dojo was more powerful. They would be promoting the White Tiger Dojo instead of the Big Dipper Dojo. On the other hand, if they lost, they would be slandered for misleading a White Tiger Dojo disciple with poor training. To make matters worse, both Shadow Sword and Turtledove had been assigned to Death Group. Although none of the White Tiger Dojo's elites were in their Death Group, many excellent provincial-level fighters were. Quite a few were even preparing to challenge the national competition this year. Their combat standards far exceeded city-level professional fighters. These reserve fighters had no chance against them. As Xiao Yu contemplated stopping the competition, the first match on platform number 1 began. To Xiao Yu's dismay, Shadow Sword, Fu Jinghong, had been chosen to fight in the first match. And to make matters worse, his opponent was the favorite to win in platform number 1. His opponent's name was Lu Jingshan, a genius disciple from the White Cloud Dojo. It's over. When Xiao Yu saw Lu Jingshan's 2-meter-tall, muscular frame walk up the platform, his expression darkened. Lu Jingshan was one of the White Cloud Dojo's favored disciples. He had been born with extraordinary physical strength and was a talented fighter. Last year, he had secured 5th place in a provincial fighting competition and had very nearly qualified for the nationals. This year, Lu Jingshan had challenged many experts and defeated numerous people from last year's national competition. His strength had long since reached the national level. In the White Tiger Dojo, he would easily become an advanced disciple. So, the fight is over before it has even begun? Xueqi stifled his laughter when he saw Fu Jinghong's opponent. Once both fighters were in position on platform number 1, the referee swung down both his hands and declared the start of the match. Chapter 1292. Shocking the Arena. The moment the match began, the screens above the arena began to broadcast the fight, attracting everyone's attention. Ha ha ha. Chairman Xiao, you've really got some bad luck. Your boy has to face our White Cloud Dojo's genius right off the bat. This year, little Lu has achieved a punching strength of 604 kilograms. He can even rank near the top in the national competition. A white-haired, old man began to laugh not far from Xiao Yu. Hearing this old man's comment, Xiao Yu's expression darkened further. Even Hall Master Chen Wu, Jinhai City's #1 expert, only had a punching strength of 453 kilograms. The Big Dipper Dojo would be eliminated in the very first round. Xiao Yu wasn't the only one with such thoughts. Everyone in the venue shared a similar opinion. Even Fu Jinghong thought so. Lu Jingshan was very famous in the fighting industry. Even top-class, city-level professional fighters looked up to the genius. Guild leader, will it really be all right? Fu Jinghong could not help but glance at Shi Feng, who watched from the distant VIP stands, worriedly. He had only arrived at the Greenwater Villa 4 days ago, yet he was participating in such a large-scale competition, required to face off against experts from various cities. Although he had undergone 3 days of special training and consumed plenty of S-rank nutrient fluids, which significantly improved his physique, he had no confidence in winning. After all, before this, he had been a reserve fighter. Unfortunately, despite his many attempts to convince Shi Feng that he wasn't skilled enough to participate in such a large competition, Shi Feng had told him to relax and fight like normal. Brat, are you going to get off of the stage yourself, or do I have to throw you from it? Lu Jingshan asked, sneering at Fu Jinghong. I'll say this. My strength has increased again recently, so don't blame me if I can't control it. Come, Fu Jinghong said, gritting his teeth. He decided to put up a fight. After all, Shi Feng had invested 5 bottles of S-rank nutrient fluid in him. If he surrendered, he would forsake his guild leader's kindness. Oh, how courageous of you! Lu Jingshan clapped his hands in mock praise. However, a second later, he dashed towards Fu Jinghong. As he moved, he looked like a brown bear, inspiring fear in his opponent. As Lu Jingshan arrived before Fu Jinghong, he jabbed at the latter's face, his fist moving so fast that it left behind even after images. Not bad. He has trained a standard punch to such a degree. No wonder even some national-level fighters aren't a match for him. Jiang Tianyuan praised the fighter from the VIP stands. From the moment Lu Jingshan charged forward to the moment he threw his punch, he had completed the entire process like flowing water. He was fast, accurate, and ruthless. There wasn't any excess movement to hinder his strength. Lu Jingshan threw his entire weight into the single punch. Although there was nothing special about this move, it was extremely dangerous. If not dealt with properly, the hit might finish Fu Jinghong off. Boom! An explosion echoed throughout the platform. However, Lu Jingshan's punch didn't reach its mark. Instead, it stopped 3 inches away from Fu Jinghong's face. The audience was stupefied. He missed. Lu Jingshan really loves to play around. He's deliberately trying to scare his opponent. That's right. After all, the difference between them is massive. It wouldn't be interesting if he ended the match with 1 punch. Lu Jingshan must be trying to spare his opponent's reputation. Fu Jinghong really is unlucky. Not only will he be defeated, but Lu Jingshan will scare him in the process. He won't faint, right? If Lu Jingshan hits him accidentally, he might kill the boy. Some of the audience members, who were familiar with Lu Jingshan, chatted merrily as they watched. They could not help but pity Fu Jinghong. Meanwhile, in the VIP stands, Xiao Yu could no longer bear to watch the match. Instead, He glared at the smiling, white-haired elder hatefully. The White Cloud Dojo was clearly using the Big Dipper Dojo to gain more fame. Who would want to join the Big Dipper Dojo after this devastating fight? Suddenly, however, the white-haired elder was confused. He had assumed that the boy was a brute, all muscle and no brains, yet the boy had increased his dojo's fame. And yet, Lu Jingshan didn't look as gleeful as everyone had expected. Rather, he looked at Fu Jinghong with a serious expression. He was not as kind or playful as everyone thought. He had planned to finish off Fu Jinghong with one punch from the very beginning to shock his following opponents. After all, this was not your standard competition. He had to fight several matches in a row. He might even suffer injuries as a result. Although the sports arena was equipped with excellent medical facilities and could help him heal small injuries very quickly, medicines and machines couldn't restore one's mental state. Hence, he had intended to finish his fights as quickly as possible. However, he had never expected Fu Jinghong to dodge his punch. "Brat, you got lucky, but your luck ends here," Lu Jingshan shouted. Immediately, he executed chaotic arrow strikes, his swiftest and most violent technique. He planned to overwhelm his opponent with brute force and speed. A wall of fists bombarded Fu Jinghong. Lu Jingshan's trademark chaotic arrow strikes. That kid is doomed. It will take several months in the hospital to recover from his injuries. The audience could not help but pity Fu Jinghong when they saw Lu Jingshan's ruthless assault. As everyone thought that Lu Jingshan would send his opponent flying, Fu Jinghong reacted, blocking every one of the incoming punches. Impossible! He can actually block that. Is he even human? The audience in the VIP stands were shocked. This was especially true for the White Cloud Dojo elder. Lu Jingshan's punches were both swift and strong. This technique would even overwhelm national fighters. Yet Lu Jingshan couldn't even hit Fu Jinghong. What refined skills! Jiang Tianyuan's eyes glowed as he watched Fu Jinghong's movements. The spectators were focused on Fu Jinghong's defense, but Jiang Tianyuan was fully aware of how difficult it was to block Lu Jingshan's chaotic arrow strike so effortlessly. First, Fu Jinghong needed to predict Lu Jingshan's attack trajectories accurately. Then he needed to block the attacks from the correct angle. To achieve such a feat, one required an acute awareness of the fight and a wealth of combat experience. Jiang Tianyuan found it very difficult to believe that a youngster in his late teens could possess so much combat experience. What? I thought he was just a reserve fighter? Xiao Yu wore an incredulous expression as he watched Fu Jinghong move across the stage gracefully, his mouth hanging open. He then shifted his gaze to Shi Feng, and all of his resentment for the man vanished. He was surprised and elated. He had never thought that Shi Feng would find such a hidden expert. At the same time, his respect for Shi Feng grew. After the fight continued for another dozen seconds or so, Lu Jingshan gradually weakened. While chaotic arrow strikes could overwhelm his opponent, the move taxed his stamina. "I see that you have some hidden strength as well, brat. You nearly fooled me." Seeing the fight going nowhere, Lu Jingshan gave up on using chaotic arrow strikes and pulled away from Fu Jinghong. He tried to buy himself some time to recover his stamina with words. "If dodging is the only thing you know how to do, you will never defeat me." However, before Lu Jingshan finished speaking, Fu Jinghong charged forward. He had no intention of giving Lu Jingshan time to rest. Seeing this, Lu Jingshan sneered at his opponent's foolishness. Adjusting his stance, he responded with a horizontal kick. As Lu Jingshan's leg was about to strike Fu Jinghong, the young fighter representing the Big Dipper Dojo slid to a stop as if he had predicted the counterattack. As a result, Lu Jingshan's leg brushed past Fu Jinghong's clothing. Lu Jingshan's stance crumbled as his attack missed, revealing weak spots in his defense. Using this opportunity, Fu Jinghong launched a scissor kick at Lu Jingshan's unguarded abdomen. Pooh! Lu Jingshan spat a mouthful of blood on the spot, flying off the platform and slamming into the ground. Although Lu Jingshan tried to stand, he swayed before losing consciousness and collapsing back to the ground. As this was a friendly competition and each contestant had to participate in more matches than the standard competition, once a referee determined that a contestant was incapable of continuing, they would immediately declare the fight's outcome. Winner: Big Dipper Dojo's Fu Jinghong. Chapter 1293. Another monster. He won just like that. The audience was dumbfounded as they stared at platform number 1's Fu Jinghong. Nobody had expected such an outcome. Moreover, the fight had ended so quickly. However, among those present, the upper echelons in the VIP stands were the most surprised. Although the general audience knew that Lu Jingshan was very strong, they didn't know that he was as skilled as a national-level fighter. And such an expert had been defeated by a disciple from a dojo they had never heard of. This was unbelievable. The Big Dipper Dojo? Didn't that dojo recently open? Amazing. I thought the rumors about Big Dipper recruiting a master were lies. It seems they are actually true. That guy defeated Lu Jingshan so easily. Doesn't this mean he already qualifies to join the national competition? After this competition is over, I have to apply for the Big Dipper Dojo. The majority of the audience found the unexpected outcome inconceivable. However, after considering the matter carefully, they realized how impressive the Big Dipper Dojo truly was. After all, none of them had ever heard of Fu Jinghong before. The Big Dipper Dojo must be impressive if it nurtured such an extraordinary fighter. The audience members aspiring to become professional fighters stared at the stage with bloodshot eyes. They were all eager to join the Big Dipper Dojo. Even if they couldn't become national-level fighters, they wouldn't have to worry about putting food on their table for the rest of their lives if they joined the ranks of provincial-level fighters. Due to the focus on Fu Jinghong and Lu Jingshan's fight, the spectators discussed the Big Dipper Dojo for a time. The more they talked about the dojo, the more enthusiastic they became. In the blink of an eye, the Big Dipper Dojo had garnered a lot of fame. Well, I won't have to worry about my marketing plans. When Xueqi noticed the heated discussions in the other audience stands, with some even expressing their intent to join the dojo, he considered this a good opportunity to advertise the Big Dipper Dojo. The White Tiger Dojo was trying to occupy the various third-tier cities because it wanted to recruit more talented fighters as leverage during its negotiations with international corporations. After all, everyone had already learned that talented fighters had an easier time becoming experts in God's domain. Hence, instead of blindly recruiting players in God's domain and hoping to find hidden gems, it was far more efficient to recruit talented fighters and train them in the game. Although the Big Dipper Dojo had already been established in Jinhai City for quite some time now, only those in the fighting industry knew its reputation. The general public didn't know much about the organization. If he could use this opportunity to gain some publicity for the dojo and lure more people into applying, this would allow Zero Wing to recruit talented fighters for internal nurturing. Although Zero Wing had already recruited plenty of talents, at the end of the day, the guild had too few. Zero Wing didn't even have enough experts to give first-rate guilds a run for their money, much less super first-rate guilds. Of course, the guild's lack of funding was the main reason for this. It couldn't afford to nurture a lot of players at once yet. However, Xueqi had no intentions of selling his God's domain resources for credits as it was his monetary resource in God's domain. In the future, these resources would become even more valuable. Selling them now would be the epitome of foolishness. Hence, he was forced to recruit talented players slowly. I thought he was just some newcomer who couldn't even pass the city's qualifiers? Xueqi was confused. Was there an error in the report? Or did he hide his strength intentionally? The fact that Fu Jinghong had defeated Lu Jingshan proved that he was not a mere reserve fighter. Yet no matter how Xueqi looked at it, it shouldn't be possible for a city-level fighter to grow to a national level within a short period. I have really underestimated the Big Dipper Dojo to think they would have such a hidden trump card. Xueqi could not help but shift his gaze towards Xueqi. Sneering, he muttered, although I've allowed you all to gain some fame, do you really think the championship will be that easy to win? He hadn't expected the Big Dipper Dojo to have an expert capable of defeating Lu Jingshan. However, Gu Chen and Yi Yuqing had no cause for concern. Meanwhile, Shadow Sword, Fu Jinghong, was still dazed as he remained on platform number 1. I won, just like that? Fu Jinghong muttered as he watched the medics carry away Lu Jingshan on a stretcher. He questioned his own performance. Was that really Lu Jingshan? He had challenged the city qualifiers twice before. However, he had been eliminated both times. Meanwhile, Lu Jingshan was an expert who actively participated in provincial-level competitions. The difference between them was like heaven and earth. Logically, he shouldn't have been able to win. Yet, Although Lu Jingshan's attacks had been fierce and powerful, he counted plenty of weaknesses in Lu Jingshan's stances. Most importantly, Lu Jingshan had telegraphed his attacks with his body language, which allowed him to predict his opponent's strikes. As a result, not only had he easily avoided Lu Jingshan's attacks, but he had also blocked Lu Jingshan's seemingly unblockable chaotic arrow strikes. This was a basic mistake that no expert should make. Of course, he hadn't realized his own abilities earlier, either. He had only learned about these factors after training with Lei Bao and sparring with Kola and the others. However, learning about these flaws was one thing. Putting this newfound knowledge to proper use was another altogether. To do so, he had arduously trained to execute void steps in God's domain and utilize the S-rank nutrient fluids to recover from the exhaustion, gradually increasing his brain activity. Only, even after his training, Kola and the others still beat him mercilessly. Meanwhile, in the VIP stands, Shifeng wasn't surprised in the least to see this outcome. Shadow Sword was immensely talented. He could easily see this in the young man's performance in God's domain. But there were a lot of differences between combat in God's domain and fights in the real world. If one wished to use their combat experience in the game in the real world, they needed to adapt. After all, one's body in the real world was different from their body in God's domain. There were minute differences between the way one controlled these two bodies. Of course, with proper guidance, one could adapt easily. Over the past 3 days, Shadow Sword had trained with Lei Bao continuously. He had also received plenty of nutrient fluids to aid his body's growth and repair. Most importantly, thanks to the S-rank nutrient fluids, his mental capabilities had evolved, allowing his 5 senses to become far more sensitive. Coupled with Shadow Sword's wealth of combat experience, it was only a matter of course for him to defeat someone like Lu Jingshan, who had very little combat experience. Once the match on platform number 1 ended, the matches on the other platforms began. The fights here were much more exciting than the city's annual fighting competition, so the audience's blood boiled as they watched. After watching Fu Jinghong defeat Lu Jingshan, who had been a favorite to win, the other fighters on platform number 1 weren't so desperate to win. If they didn't think that they could defeat their opponent, they simply surrendered. After all, they still had to participate in official competitions once this friendly competition ended. Unless absolutely necessary, they would avoid injury. Aside from platform number 1, some eye-catching experts emerged on the other platforms. The White Tiger Dojo's 3 experts, in particular, struck fear in their opponents, extinguishing their plans for overcoming the elimination round. Meanwhile, the match on platform number 28 ended within less than 5 seconds. A robust man that was 1.9 meters tall was thrown from the platform, tearing a gasp from the spectators. If the person responsible were a muscular man, they wouldn't have been surprised. However, the victor was a charming beauty with an hourglass figure. With a single punch, this beauty had sent a 1.9-meter-tall man flying over 3 meters away and off the platform's edge. The waiting fighters sucked in a breath of cold air when they saw this. Suddenly, they were afraid of this beauty. What kind of monstrous strength does she possess? Crap! Just who is she? Everyone began to evaluate the young woman. Meanwhile, the various dojos and training centers' upper echelons began to investigate this mysterious girl. When they discovered her identity, they nearly cried out in shock. This girl was actually one of the Big Dipper Dojo's representatives, Turtle Dove, Yu Chao Chao. Chapter 1294. Famous. Amazing! Truly amazing! Are all of Big Dipper's disciples so powerful? Exclamations echoed throughout the spectator stands. When they discovered Yu Chao Chao's identity, their interest in the Big Dipper Dojo grew. If only one of the dojo's representatives were strong, they could chalk it up to that individual's talent. However, it was a different story if both representatives were powerful. This showed that the dojo had excellent teaching methods. Meanwhile, the various upper echelons in the VIP stands stared at Shifeng and Xiao Yu in shock. Didn't Big Dipper recently establish its dojo? How could they have nurtured such skilled disciples? No wonder why the White Tiger Dojo stopped challenging the various dojos and training centers after visiting the Big Dipper Dojo. It turns out that the Big Dipper Dojo is actually quite powerful. So that rumor was true. The Big Dipper Group has won the lottery this time. Why can't a powerful master stumble into our dojo as well? Everyone in the VIP stands was a fighting industry insider, so they were all aware that the Big Dipper dojo was a new construct. Moreover, the dojo had specifically been established for Xueqi. However, they had neither expected Xueqi to be such a powerful individual nor a capable instructor. With this, the Big Dipper dojo's fame would grow. Ha ha ha! Big brother, our Big Dipper dojo is famous. Several people just contacted me stating that they wish to join the dojo. There are even a few professional fighters among them who have previously refused our invitations, Xiaoyan said excitedly. Since the dojo's establishment, the Big Dipper group had constantly searched for ways to expand the dojo's influence. After all, a dojo wouldn't necessarily become popular just because it had a master martial artist leading the training sessions. Before the dojo succeeded in nurturing powerful disciples, nobody would know how capable said master was. If the master happened to be inept at teaching, there was no point to joining the dojo. Hence, they had attempted to recruit some well-known professional fighters in Jinhai City and the several neighboring cities. Unfortunately, these fighters had either refused outright or demanded too high of a price. Now, however, these professional fighters, who had acted like almighty masters, acted like children. They were all eager to join the Big Dipper dojo. Xiaoyu nodded and smiled as well. He hadn't realized how thoroughly Xueqi had hidden his capabilities either. Now they didn't have to worry about damage to the Big Dipper dojo's reputation, and they could recruit a plethora of well-known professional fighters. As the audience paid more attention to the Big Dipper dojo, the matches around the arena became increasingly intense as the various competitors fought to obtain the only advancement slot for their respective platforms. As predicted, all three representatives from the White Tiger dojo advanced through the elimination round eventually. All three were unbelievably skilled. The other dojos and training centers didn't fare as well. Over 40-plus dojos and training centers had come to participate. Even if the remaining slots were divided equally, not every establishment could earn a slot. Furthermore, many fighters had joined the competition independently. In the end, only the stronger dojos and training centers would advance. The White Tiger dojo really is impressive as expected of one of the country's best dojos. The other dojos and training centers simply aren't a match for it. The Martial Heaven dojo is also pretty strong. All three of its representatives advanced. As for the White Cloud dojo, if Lu Jingshan hadn't lost, all of its representatives would have advanced as well. That Big Dipper dojo is also quite skilled. All three of its representatives advanced to the next round, too. Moreover, I heard that the Big Dipper dojo is relatively new. It can definitely rival the Martial Heaven dojo and White Tiger dojo. When the organizers displayed the list of fighters who had advanced above the stage, the audience discussed the various establishments. Among the many dojos and training centers, only the White Tiger dojo, the Martial Heaven dojo, and the Big Dipper dojo would be represented by all three of their fighters in the next round. Hence, many people started comparing the three dojos. When Xueqi heard the chatter, he paled. The spectators were comparing one of the country's best dojos to third-rate organizations. If news of this reached the main branch, the higher-ups would call his management capabilities into question. Damn it! Where did Big Dipper find so many experts? Xueqi balled his fists as he glared at the distant Xiaoyu. In his opinion, the only person in the Big Dipper group capable of such a feat was the sly old fox, Xiaoyu. As Xueqi inwardly cursed Xiaoyu's cunning, Jiang Tianyuan asked from beside him, Qiwen, why is Yu Zipping listed among the Big Dipper dojo's representatives? Hallmaster this. I'm not sure. Feigning ignorance, Xueqi replied. I'll have someone find out what is going on immediately. Once he returns, I'll demand an explanation. No need. Despite the White Tiger dojo's nurturing, he dares to represent another dojo without consent. He has already broken one of our sacred taboos. He is no longer a member of the White Tiger dojo. Let him fend for himself, Jiang Tianyuan announced coldly. Originally, he had considered Yu Zipping a talented child worthy of the dojo's attention. Hence, he had specifically asked if the boy had been chosen to represent their dojo in this competition. Even if Yu Zipping hadn't been chosen, he had intended to recommend moving the youth to the main branch for better training. However, Yu Zipping had greatly disappointed him. Understood. Xueqi nodded. However, when Jiang Tianyuan looked away, he revealed a faint sneer. Yu Ziping had lost his protection from the White Tiger Dojo. It was obvious that Jiang Tianyuan's attitude towards Yu Ziping had changed significantly. After this, dealing with the boy would become easier. Once the competition ended, he would report Yu Ziping for violating his contract with the White Tiger Dojo. Not only would Yu Ziping be forced to pay a massive compensation fee, but it would also deal a blow to the Big Dipper Dojo's reputation. To protect itself, the Big Dipper Dojo might be forced to abandon Yu Ziping. Shortly after the elimination round, the 32 contestants that had advanced approached the sports arena's main stage to draw lots. The main stage was far more spacious than the surrounding platforms. Moreover, the virtual screens constantly broadcast the main stage, allowing all of the spectators to watch the fights. As the 32 contestants drew lots in sequence of their platform number, a petite, beautiful girl in a blue martial arts uniform walked up to Yu Ziping. This girl was none other than Yu Qing. "Yu Ziping, must you do this?" Yu Qing asked quietly. "You know that Hall Master Jiang already plans to give Meng Yun to Xueqi. If you leave to join the Big Dipper Dojo now, you'll destroy your future." In the White Tiger Dojo, very few knew that Yu Qing, who was only second to the goddess Tang Jingyao in terms of strength, had a friendship with Yu Ziping and Jiang Mengyun. "I couldn't care less about that anymore. Xueqi is only a step away from the global stage. Meanwhile, I am still a mere intermediate disciple in the White Tiger Dojo. Whether it's strength, resources or family background, I am inferior to him in every aspect. If I don't fight now, I won't have a chance once he reaches the international level," Yu Ziping said seriously. "Even so, you shouldn't go about it like this." Yu Qing was astonished when she saw Yu Ziping's determination. "If you lose the White Tiger Dojo's protection, Xueqi won't hesitate to strike out at you. He already told us to cripple you in this competition. If you fight either Gu Chan or Liao Huajie, you must be careful. If you can't, surrender. Relax. I'll show Xueqi that I'm not just going to take his crap lying down," Yu Ziping said, smiling calmly. "You." Angry, Yu Iching spun around and left. She couldn't understand where Yu Ziping's confidence came from. If she had to fight him, she could show mercy. However, it was a different story for Gu Chan and Liao Huajie. After all, Xueqi was close with both fighters. However, now that Yu Ziping was determined to take this path, it was not her place to stop him. Time passed quickly. After the drawings were done, the competition resumed. The screens above the arena displayed the first matchup. First match, Liao Huajie vs Yu Ziping. Chapter 1295. Instant Judgment. As the first match was announced, a commotion erupted in the VIP stands. A present White Tiger Dojo disciple fighting an ex-White Tiger Dojo disciple. This match is going to be interesting. Those in the VIP stands were all insiders of the fighting industry. They had already investigated every fighter that had advanced through the elimination round. They were all aware of Yu Ziping's background. Yu Ziping had been a relatively talented disciple of the White Tiger Dojo. He had become an intermediate disciple despite being so young. If he continued to work hard for another year or two, he definitely could have become an advanced disciple. Becoming an advanced disciple in the White Tiger Dojo was basically a guarantee that one could qualify for the national fighting competitions. Yet, for some inconceivable reason, Yu Ziping had shown up as one of the Big Dipper Dojo's representatives. As the audience in the VIP stands discussed the matter quietly, Jiang Tianyuan wore a twisted expression. Yu Ziping's actions were a slap in the face for the White Tiger Dojo. The dojo would become a laughingstock. "Hall Master, rest assured, Liao Huajie will teach the boy how wrong and foolish his decision was," Xueqi said, smiling. He had waited for this day for a long time. Although Yu Ziping was slightly more skilled than Liao Huajie, the latter had far more combat experience. Liao Huajie could easily defeat Yu Ziping. With Yu Ziping's defeat, they would show everyone the White Tiger Dojo's strength while leaving a stain on the Big Dipper Dojo's reputation. He could even cripple Yu Ziping in the process. This was practically killing 3 birds with 1 stone. There was no possibility of Liao Huajie's defeat. He was very familiar with Yu Ziping's skills. The teen would need another 1 or 2 years of arduous training to reach the national level. Meanwhile, Liao Huajia's strength was not as simple as everyone assumed. Below the main stage, the various fighters watched Liao Huajia and Yu zipping on the main stage. They were very curious to see the outcome of this fight. Unlike everyone else, a flash of concern appeared in Yu Yiqing's eyes as she watched Yu zipping stretch. She then quietly moved towards Shadow Sword and Turtledove, who also watched the match. Quietly she said, "If you two are Yu zipping's friends, you must stop this fight. Liao Huajia is not as simple as you think. He is one of our main branch's watchmen. If you don't stop Yu zipping before the match starts, he will be in danger." A watchman. Shadow Sword and Turtledove turned to Yu Yiqing, their expressions turning serious when they heard this. "Are you telling the truth?" Yu Yiqing was a member of the White Tiger Dojo. Although they did not know what Yu Yiqing intended by warning them, they knew that watchmen should not be underestimated. Those who weren't familiar with the various dojos and training centers might not know what the term watchman implied. However, those who focused on breaking into the industry's inner circle were familiar with the word. To put it simply, a watchman determined if a disciple was worthy of focused nurturing. After all, a dojo or training center's resources were limited. It was not possible to provide tons of resources to every member. Hence, anyone who could defeat the designated watchman would receive the dojo's attention and vice versa. This maintained the quality of the establishment's best disciples. Watchmen were no weaker than those favored disciples. Rather, the opposite was true. On average, watchmen were stronger. Generally, watchmen were experts the establishment's upper echelons had chosen unanimously. Although watchmen were forced to hide their achievements during their service, once their term ended, they would receive their dojo's best training. Moreover, as compensation, they would have access to an abundance of resources during their service. As a result, many people aspired to become watchmen. Unfortunately, very few were ever chosen. Although not every dojo and training center had watchmen, it was normal for a peak dojo like the White Tiger Dojo. "Why would I lie to you?" Yu Yiqing rolled her eyes at Shadow Sword and Turtledove. She was one of the White Tiger Dojo's geniuses. She didn't need petty tricks to defeat her opponents. "Although I'm not trying to brag, Liao Huajia is no weaker than I am. Yu zipping stands no chance against him. Moreover, Liao Huajia is famed for his mercilessness during fights." "He's as strong as you are?" Turtledove asked as she evaluated Yu Yiqing. "If I fought him, I'd have a 60-40 chance of winning," Yu Yiqing said after giving the matter some thought. Liao Huajia had been hiding his strength. Only the dojo's upper echelons knew his true skill. Meanwhile, she was the genius Tang Jingyao's future successor, so she was at least on par with Liao Huajia. However, to convince the Big Dipper Dojo to take Liao Huajia more seriously, she exaggerated his strength a little bit. "So that's the case. We shouldn't need to notify the guild leader, then." Turtledove breathed a sigh of relief. Shadow Sword nodded in agreement. He, too, didn't think this matter was worth Shifeng's time. "You guys," Turtledove and Shadow Sword's response dumbfounded Yu Yiqing momentarily. Although she tried to ask if they truly understood the severity of the matter, they shut her up with a word of thanks. As a result, she could only walk away, fuming as she realized that Shadow Sword and Turtledove were just as stubborn as Yu zipping. None of them could be reasoned with. As Yu Yiqing tried to think of a way to convince Yu zipping to drop out of the match, the timer above the main stage began to count down. "Yu zipping, I had thought you were better than this. I had believed that you could have joined the main branch after another year or two. But you crossed the line today. You betrayed the White Tiger Dojo. Today, I show you the price for that betrayal," Liao Huajia said as he stopped 2 meters away from Yu zipping. Sneering, he continued, "Brother Chiwen has asked me to pass you a message. You are 100 years too early if you wish to compete on his level." Suddenly, Liao Huajia moved. Executing swimming dragon steps, he was instantly within attack range of Yu zipping. He then launched a flying knee kick at Yu zipping's face. At the same time, his arms lashed towards Yu zipping's neck like whips. Liao Huajia's attacks were extremely vicious. From the very onset of the match, he aimed for Yu zipping's life. Against an attack to the face, fighters instinctively go on the defensive, ignore attacks from other directions. However, Liao Huajia wanted more from his flying knee attack than Yu zipping's focus on defending himself. Martial artists frequently practiced conquering their defensive instincts. Rather, Liao Huajia wanted to distract his opponent with the initial attack, preventing Yu Zipping from noticing the attacks aimed for his neck. As Lu Huajie's knee flew towards Yu Zipping's face, Yu Zipping dashed forward, instead of retreating. That guy is insane. The fighters below the stage were shocked by Yu Zipping's suicidal counter. If the knee struck his face, he would die. Is he trying to get himself killed? Lu Huajie was a little surprised by Yu Zipping's actions. However, it didn't distract him from his attacks. In the moment between life and death, Yu Zipping barely avoided the knee as he circled to Lu Huajie's side. When their bodies interlocked, Yu Zipping used centrifugal force to land a powered punch to Lu Huajie's back. Yu Zipping's attack was as quick as lightning, giving his opponent no time to react. Thud. When Yu Zipping's fist met Lu Huajie's back, Lu Huajie felt as if he had been struck by a hammer. Immediately, Lu Huajie spat a mouthful of blood as the strike threw him over 3 meters away. By the time he hit the ground, Lu Huajie had lost consciousness. The entire process was complete in the blink of an eye. What just happened? Practically everyone watching the fight was stunned. Just as they thought that Lu Huajie would win, Yu Zipping stood on the stage alone. The fight ended so quickly. Can somebody tell me what just happened? I didn't see anything. Many of the spectators stared in shock, confused about what had just happened. Chapter 1296. Competition with many hidden experts. The various dojos and training centers' upper echelons were even more shocked than the audience in the spectator stands, staring at the match's victor with wide eyes. However, nobody was more surprised than Xueqi. What is going on? How is he so strong? He was extremely familiar with Lu Huajie's strength. Although Lu Huajie was slightly weaker than Gu Chen, the boy could still rank among the top of the main branch's advanced disciples. This was why the main branch had agreed to dispatch Lu Huajie for this friendly competition. Xueqi wouldn't be able to defeat Lu Huajie so quickly, yet Yu Zipping had ended the match in the span of a breath. Yuqing stared at Yu Zipping with a stupefied expression from below the stage. Impossible! How did he become so strong? Yuqing thought back to what Yu Zipping had told her. Could he have hidden his strength all this time? Moreover, Yu Zipping wasn't the only one behaving strangely today. The other 2 Big Dipper representatives, Fu Jinghong and Yu Chaoqiao, had been extraordinarily calm despite learning that Lu Huajie was a watchman. They were both obviously confident of Yu Zipping's victory. However, this only further confused Yuqing. If Yu Zipping had revealed such strength early on, the White Tiger Dojo would have offered him focused training. If that had happened, even Xueqi would have had a hard time dealing with him. Could the Big Dipper Dojo be responsible for this? Yuqing considered the possibility, her voice shaking as she spoke aloud. She couldn't bring herself to believe it. When the referee on the stage announced Yu Zipping's victory, shrieks of excitement flooded the arena. So strong! Is this the Big Dipper Dojo's true strength? Is that guy a monster? I didn't see what had happened. After this match, the audience's admiration for the Big Dipper Dojo reached new heights. Jiang Tianyuan, however, wore a solemn expression as he watched from the VIP stands. Hallmaster, Lu Huajie must have been careless. However, Gu Chen and Yuqing should be able to restore our reputation. Xueqi hurriedly explained. Although he knew that his explanation was somewhat forced, it was true that Lu Huajie had been careless. When fighting an expert of the same level, a direct, full-powered assault was foolish. If the opponent spotted a weakness, they could certainly obtain victory with a single blow. Lu Huajie's miserable defeat was understandable. Hopefully that is the case. After this competition, I would also like a proper explanation for why Yu Zipping is suddenly representing the Big Dipper Dojo. Jiang Tianyuan responded in a deep tone as he glanced at Xueqi. While it was true that Lu Huajie had been careless, not every fighter could find an opportunity to deal such a devastating blow. It a certain degree of skill. It was clear that Yu Zipping had already reached this standard. Also, I want you to learn everything there is to know about the Big Dipper Dojo. Do not miss a single detail. Jiang Tianyuan could not help but shift his gaze towards Shi Feng, who sat quietly in the distance. He kept having the feeling that there was more to the Big Dipper Dojo than what met the eye. Understood. I will look into it. Xueqi repeatedly nodded, feeling a chill crawl down his spine when the heavy pressure Jiang Tianyuan gave off washed over him. Jiang Tianyuan was a legend in the White Tiger Dojo. Even the head hole master treated him with respect. Jiang Tianyuan's wrath was not someone a mere genius like himself could hope to endure. Meanwhile, on another side of the VIP stands, Xiao Yu and Xiao Yan brimmed with exhilaration. Head instructor Shi, you are truly astounding. You poached such a genius from the White Tiger Dojo. Now that we have defeated one of the White Tiger Dojo's elites, I'm afraid that the crowds will trample over and destroy the Big Dipper Dojo's entrance tomorrow. When Xiao Yu thought about the sea of people that would rush to apply for the Big Dipper Dojo, an indescribable joy bloomed in his heart. As long as the Big Dipper Dojo developed successfully, it would help the Big Dipper Group grow. The company would finally be able to branch out of Jinhai City and enter a bigger stage. I was just lucky, Shifeng said, chuckling. Yu Zipping's performance had been quite impressive. It was no wonder why even Lai Bao and Fire Dance had given him praise. Although Yu Zipping had only played God's Domain for a short time, his level had increased very quickly. Almost every monster he fought was a higher level. In addition, his foundations had already been sound. As a result, after practicing void steps incessantly, he had undergone a qualitative transformation. Unlike Shadow Sword, who had used 5 bottles of S-rank nutrient fluids to reach his current level, Yu Zipping had only needed 1. As for Turtle Dove, she had used 4 bottles. Yu Zipping was more fit than Shadow Sword and Turtle Dove. When it came to combat experience, however, Yu Zipping couldn't compare to them. After all, Yu Zipping had never experienced a fight against God's Domain's peak experts. Following which, time passed quickly. One match after another ended on the main stage. The following matches were intense, and the audience's blood boiled as they watched. Unlike the first match, however, the other matches' outcomes weren't surprising. The only unexpected outcome was that, among the 8 contestants that made it to the quarterfinals, one was an independent contestant that had joined using the nickname Evil Fire. Despite not belonging to a dojo or training center, Evil Fire was frighteningly skilled. The strangest thing was that nobody had ever seen or heard of Evil Fire before. As a result, many dojos and training centers sent the contestant secret invitations, with some offering him astronomical incomes, yet Evil Fire refused every offer. Instead, he made a confusing counteroffer, stating that he would only join an establishment if they had a representative that could defeat him in God's Domain. During the quarterfinal second match, Evil Fire faced Gu Chen. No one had expected the unknown Evil Fire to defeat Gu Chen, one of the White Tiger Dojo's geniuses and Xueqi's future successor, in less than 10 moves. During the final exchange, Evil Fire abandoned all caution as he landed a ruthless blow to Gu Chen's chest, knocking his opponent out instantly like a wild beast. As a result of his recklessness, though, Evil Fire had broken an arm. Evil Fire's combat method made every spectator shudder. If not for the high-quality medical care available, Evil Fire's fighting career might have ended with that final blow. Is that person trying to get himself killed? He's a savage. Xiao Yan frowned when he recalled Evil Fire's fight. It was very obvious that Evil Fire had deliberately sacrificed an arm to finish Gu Chen. No normal martial artist would have fought so desperately, especially not in a friendly competition. Trying to get himself killed? Shifeng did not voice his opinion. Although the fight seemed desperate, in reality, he had made the wisest decision. The match's outcome wouldn't have been so clear otherwise. After all, Gu Chen clearly had the advantage regarding physique. Evil Fire had only defeated his opponent due to having more combat experience. Based on the way Evil Fire fought, Shifeng could tell that the teen had experienced plenty of life-or-death battles. Otherwise, the teen wouldn't have been able to maintain his calm in such an intense fight. As everyone discussed Evil Fire's match, Xueqi wore a grim expression. He couldn't understand what was happening. This was simply a friendly competition between 6 third-tier cities, yet one unknown expert had shown up after another. Now, even Gu Chen had been defeated. How was this a city-level competition? This could practically be considered a national-level competition already. During the third match, Shadow Sword defeated his opponent from the White Cloud Dojo, advancing to the semifinals. The crowd cheered as the quarterfinals' last match began. Yu Qiao Qiao versus Yu Qing. Chapter 1297, Limit Removal. Although Yu Xiaoqiao and Yi Yuqing had just approached the stage and were waiting for the match to start, the various upper echelons in the VIP stands were exceptionally excited. Nobody had expected that this friendly competition would reach this point. This should have been a stage for the White Tiger Dojo to display its overwhelming might. Now, however, just getting into the semifinals was a problem. Meanwhile, Xueqi wore a twisted expression. He had never thought that Gu Chen would be so useless as to lose to some unknown fighter. With this, the White Tiger Dojo's reputation was soiled. Meanwhile, as the person responsible for handling this competition, he couldn't escape blame. Xingting, contact Big Dipper immediately. If they are willing to forsake the competition, I will give them the Green God Company's invitation. We can both still benefit. If they refuse and Yi Yuqing takes the championship, they'll get nothing. Xueqi quietly instructed Gan Xingting, who sat beside him. The current situation wasn't in his favor. Although Yi Yuqing was very strong, at the end of the day, she was no match for Gu Chen. Gu Chen had only lost to Evil Fire because he hadn't dared to go all out. It was difficult to guarantee that Yi Yuqing would not make the same mistake. Xueqi did not want to take this risk. In any case, the dojo's and training center's main goal in this competition was the Green God Company's invitation card. If the Big Dipper Dojo accepted his offer, not only would they do the White Tiger Dojo a favor, but they'd also receive the invitation card. This was a heaven-sent opportunity to a small dojo like Big Dipper. Gan Xingting immediately left the VIP stands and contacted Xiaoyu, notifying the man of Xueqi offer. Big brother, did something happen? Xiao Yan asked curiously when he noticed Xiao Yu's hesitant expression while he was on a call. The Big Dipper Dojo had already garnered quite a bit of fame during this friendly competition. It wouldn't have any issues expanding past Jinhai City in the future. This should be cause for celebration, not concern. It's the White Tiger Dojo. They've offered a deal. If we forfeit, they will compensate us with the Green God Company's invitation, Xiao Yu explained. At the end of the day, the White Tiger Dojo was still one of the best dojos in the country. If Big Dipper won the championship, while it would indeed help to further its reputation, but it would also provoke the White Tiger Dojo. The Big Dipper Dojo would have some trouble expanding into other cities, particularly first and second tier cities. However, if Big Dipper conceded this competition, it would benefit their expansion. Even Xiao Yan hesitated for a moment. However, he shifted his gaze to Shifeng and said, Big brother, rather than deciding ourselves, why don't we let Shifeng make the decision? After all, Shifeng is the dojo's manager. The dojo's development should be left to him. I guess that's true. Xiao Yu smiled bitterly. After all, he wasn't responsible for the Big Dipper Dojo's management. Rather than having a headache over this matter, it was better to leave it to Shifeng. While Shifeng looked young and immature, his mind was anything but. The only reason the Big Dipper Dojo had come this far was Shifeng. If he decided on his own, and Shifeng disagreed, it would sour their working relationship. Following which, Xiao Yu passed Xueqi's message to Shifeng. Head instructor Shi, what do you think? Xiao Yu looked at Shifeng, curious as to what decision the youth would make. The White Tiger Dojo's favor wasn't easy to earn. If the Big Dipper Dojo tried to expand to first and second tier cities, it would run into the White Tiger Dojo. Moreover, it was not a guarantee that they would win the championship. If they rejected this offer, they might lose the opportunity to obtain the Green God Company's invitation. The White Tiger Dojo's offer didn't particularly surprise Shifeng. Straightforwardly he responded, Chairman Xiao, tell them that we can get the Green God Company's invitation by ourselves. We don't need their charity. The White Tiger Dojo was a frightening organization. As one of the best dojos in the country, it had branched dojos in practically every first and second tier city. Shifeng understood Xiao Yu's thoughts. If he hadn't been reincarnated, he really would have been tempted to accept this offer as well. After all, getting in the good graces of a top dojo would make things easier when the Big Dipper Dojo expanded into first and second tier cities. Unfortunately, the future was in God's domain. The Big Dipper Dojo had only recently established. If he wanted to recruit talented players and quickly increase the dojo's fame, this friendly competition was the best stepping stone available. He could not let this opportunity get away. If he waited a few more months, the other dojos and training centers would monopolize many talented players. He was in a race against time. Did he have enough to waste with the White Tiger Dojo? If we do this. Xiaoyu was stupefied. He had never expected such a clear-cut response from Xueqi. This was the White Tiger Dojo they were talking about. If they humiliated the White Tiger Dojo today, the Big Dipper Dojo would suffer from its wrath later. However, seeing Xueqi's determination and taking into account that the youth had full management rights for the Big Dipper Dojo, Xiaoyu would not offer a differing opinion. He sighed as he had no choice but to relay the decision to Gan Xingting. What? They refused? Xueqi when asked again, thinking he had heard wrong. They said that they will obtain the Green God Company's invitation by themselves. Gan Xingting had also thought he had heard wrong. However, Xiaoyu's answer had been definitive. Good. Excellent. At this moment, Xueqi's expression was as cold as ice. He had never thought that a little dojo would dare oppose him. Let's wait and see then. Notify Yuqing right away. The dojo's reputation is at risk now. If need be, have her remove her limiter. I'll cover the recovery expenses myself. Initially, Gan Xingting had been excited when he heard Xueqi's words. After all, he would finally get an opportunity to witness a limit removal, yet he began to worry as he responded, "But boss, if we expose that move here, we'll get in trouble with the main branch. I'll take responsibility for it. I want to show these no-name dojos and training centers that, no matter how much they try, their efforts are futile." Xueqi sneered as he glanced at Xueqi. On the main stage, both Yu Qiao and Yuqing eyed each other, carefully observing the other party's movements. As soon as the referee swung his hands down and announced the start of the match, both fighters dashed forward, invading into each other's attack range. Although Yuqing's attack seemed soft and light, they were incredibly fierce. Every punch and palm strike sounded like an explosion, overwhelming the audience. Although Yuqing was a girl, she had already achieved a 550 kilograms punch. Over a century ago, her punches would have qualified her for a boxing championship. She was fully capable of punching holes through concrete walls and crushing stones in her palm. She could even put an ordinary person's life at risk with one hit. Against Yuqing's overwhelming attacks, any normal person would have retreated. However, Yu Qiao did not. Instead, she launched her own barrage of attacks, her hands moving like whips as they clashed with Yuqing's attacks. Her momentum was no slower than Yuqing's. Moreover, every time she blocked an attack, a loud crash would echo throughout the venue. This scene stupefied the audience at the spectator stands. Both fighters exchanged blows constantly, attacking and defending non-stop. In the blink of an eye, Yu Qiao and Yuqing had exchanged numerous moves. The audience could not keep up with the two girls. This continued for over a dozen seconds without either side securing an advantage. It was obvious that neither side would have an easy victory. Seeing the fight going nowhere, Yuqing backed away. With a confused expression, she then said, "I haven't found a single weakness in your defense even after our exchange. It really is hard to imagine why an expert like you would join a small dojo that has no history." In terms of strength and speed, she was clearly a cut above Yu Qiao. However, Yu Qiao continued to find holes in her defense, forcing her to parry or dodge and preventing her from exhibiting her full strength. Rather than a teenage girl, Yuqing felt as if she faced a veteran fighter who had participated in fighting competitions for over a dozen years. She even felt that Yu Qiao's move slightly resembled that of the savage Evil Fire. If not for witnessing Evil Fire's attack methods earlier, Yu Qiao would have caught her off guard. Yuqing suddenly caught sight of Gan Xingting making hand gestures at her. These gestures were the White Tiger Dojo's internal sign language, which all main branch disciples had to learn. Has Xueqi lost his mind? This is just a friendly competition. Is there a need to go so far? Yuqing could not help her surprise when she saw Gan Xingting's gestures. Noticing that her opponents diverted attention, Yu Qiao took advantage of the distraction and advanced, using a superficial footwork technique. Following which, Yu Qiao seemed to flicker in and out of existence. By the time Yuqing snapped back to attention, Yu Qiao had already circled to her side. Yu Qiao's fist flew towards Yuqing's defenseless side. Since she had noticed the attack too late, Yuqing couldn't dodge the fist normally. As Yu Qiaoqiao's fist was about to hit its mark, a black shadow darted and intercepted Yu Qiaoqiao's fist. Thud. Even the referee, who stood over 8 meters away, heard the dull sound. How? Yu Qiaoqiao looked at Yi Yuqing in shock. Her attack had been flawless. She had used the momentary distraction to circle to her opponent's side and attack from a blind spot. Yi Yuqing shouldn't have been able to defend herself. Yet, the palm that had caught her fist belonged to none other than Yi Yuqing. Most importantly, she had put her entire weight into that punch, yet Yi Yuqing had intercepted the hit. It felt as if she had punched a wall. It was unbelievable. You really are amazing. If I hadn't used limit removal, you might have defeated me with that blow. At this moment, Yi Yuqing sighed ruefully as she gripped Yu Qiaoqiao's fist. Originally, I had planned to save this move for the national competition. I never thought that I would be forced to use it so soon. However, since I have, this match is over. Saying so, Yi Yuqing squeezed Yu Qiaoqiao's fist. No matter how much Yu Qiaoqiao struggled, she couldn't break the hold. At this time, Yi Yuqing clenched her free hand into a fist and punched her trapped opponent. The instant she threw her punch, a loud explosion rang throughout the arena. She was both faster and stronger than before. Chapter 1298. You're not the only one who knows. Knowing that she couldn't avoid Yi Yuqing's fierce punch, Yu Qiaoqiao clenched her free hand into a fist and aimed a punch for Yi Yuqing's wrist. The instant her fist met the young woman's wrist, however, she felt as if she had punched a steel wall. Fortunately, the force behind her punch diverted Yi Yuqing's attack trajectory slightly, the latter's punch missing her shoulder and only tearing her clothing. When Yi Yuqing saw that her first hit had failed, she followed up with another, giving Yu Qiaoqiao no time to breathe. Limit removal was a double-edged sword. Ordinary people could only exert up to 20% of their muscle strength, with their minds suppressing the remaining 80%. However, the White Tiger Dojo had a secret technique that allowed one to loosen this suppression with breathing techniques and mental training. Although this technique only removed a small portion of the limiter, it increased one's strength, speed, and reaction speed tremendously. However, in return, one would damage their own muscles and weaken their internal organs. The limit removal technique was the equivalent of trading one's life force for strength temporarily. If one used this technique for too long, they could die. After all, humans' minds suppressed their strength to protect the body. Even though Yi Yuqing had trained constantly as a professional fighter, which made her much tougher than ordinary people, it was very risky to use limit removal. She wouldn't use it unless absolutely necessary. If not for Xueqi's promise to pay for her recovery and the White Tiger Dojo's reputation being at risk, she wouldn't have even considered using the trump card. Yi Yuqing launched a series of rapid punches. Meanwhile, Yu Qiaoqiao tried her best to block while struggling to break free from Yi Yuqing's hold. However, Yi Yuqing's control grew more precise, which made it increasingly difficult for Yu Qiaoqiao to block her attacks. Yi Yuqing's punches were like bullets from a machine gun. They were both fierce and powerful. The strong wind from her punches stirred the dirt and dust on the stage. The audience was stupefied. So strong. Is this the genius that will succeed Tang Jingyao in the White Tiger Dojo in the future? Why do I have the feeling that Yi Yuqing is even stronger than Gu Chen? In Gu Chen's fight against that evil fire fellow, his punches only caused some sound. Yi Yuqing's punches are sending dirt into the air. Just how strong is she? Is this the White Tiger Dojo's true strength? She's inhuman. Compared to the audience in the spectator stands, however, the fighters below stage were truly shocked. After all, nobody knew just how strong Yi Yuqing was. A monster. Thank goodness I wasn't matched with her. She'd knock me out with a single punch. As expected of one of the White Tiger Dojo's geniuses, she can contend with national fighters. It seems the White Tiger Dojo will be this competition's champion. The fighters below stage felt their skin grow cold as they watched Yi Yuqing's violent display. Meanwhile, in the VIP stands, Jiang Tianyuan watched the battle in silence. Although he didn't express joy, he didn't seem dissatisfied either. Seeing this, Xueqi breathed a sigh of relief. Ha ha ha, good. As expected of Tang Jingyao's future successor, her limit removal's efficiency should be at around 30% or so. Although she is still slightly weaker than Gu Chen, only experts from the other top dojos should be any match for her now. Xueqi sneered as he watched Yu Chaoqiao's defense crumble. One of the reasons that the White Tiger Dojo had become one of the best dojos in the country was this limit removal secret technique. Of course, the other top dojos and training centers had their own similar techniques, though there were slight variations. This was why other dojos and training centers had no hope against the top establishments. However, this kind of secret technique was extremely difficult to learn. Not everybody could master it. Both Gu Chen and Yi Yuqing were known as geniuses in the White Tiger Dojo because they had grasped this secret technique. Hence, they were showered with attention and resources in the dojo. Normally, the dojo only permitted the use of limit removal during national competitions as the technique took a toll on the user's body. After all, one would need a lot of time and resources to recover. However, Xueqi couldn't care less right now. He would rather get reprimanded and compensate Yi Yuqing with S-rank nutrient fluids, dwindling his limited stockpile, than lose this friendly competition. Big Dipper. Just you wait. I'll repay this debt sooner or later. Xueqi glared at Shi Feng and the others, plotting his revenge. Meanwhile, on Xiao Yu's side. We're finished. Yi Yuqing has been hiding her strength all this time. With such strength, who could defeat her? Seeing Yi Yuqing suppress her opponent, Xiao Yu began to have regrets. If he had tried to persuade Shi Feng, they might have obtained the Green God Company's invitation card. Now, however, they would lose everything. The other upper echelons were similarly stunned. Rumors indicated that Gu Chen was stronger than Yi Yuqing. Now, however, it would seem that the opposite was true. If they compared their own disciples against this young woman, the difference between them would be like the difference between an adult and a child. Hiding her strength, huh? When Shi Feng saw the veins popping on Yi Yuqing's arms and forehead, he realized something. The White Tiger Dojo sure is willing to splurge. They're using limit removal in such a small competition. Aren't they afraid that it would affect their performance in the national competition? At present, very few in the fighting industry knew about limit removal. In 10 years, though, the move would be common. This was all due to God's domain. After all, God's domain had the technology to develop the human brain's potential. With a well-developed brain, it wasn't unusual for someone to be capable of removing their body's limiters. It was likely that no one fully understood the pros and cons of the limit removal technique yet. As for Yu Chaoqiao, who was currently overwhelmed, Shi Feng wasn't worried. After all, limit removal wasn't unique to the White Tiger Dojo. Moreover, compared to the limit removal technique in Shi Feng's past, the present techniques were laughably crude. Meanwhile on the stage, just as Yi Yuqing's fist was about to strike Yu Chaoqiao's shoulder, Yi Yuqing's fist suddenly froze. What's going on? Yu Yuqing was shocked when she couldn't move her fist. Before she realized it, Yu Chaoqiao had caught her wrist. Not only that, but she had broken free of the latter's hold. It was as if her entire arm had frozen in place. Chapter 1299. Do you dare fight? What is she trying to do? Xueqi frowned when he saw Yi Yuqing's fist stop suddenly. Yi Yuqing could have ended Yu Chaoqiao right there and then, yet she had frozen. Xueqi wasn't the only person confused. The others in the VIP stands were also baffled. Why had Yi Yuqing held back? However, none of them knew that Yi Yuqing was just as shocked. Although her punch hadn't contained her full power, her opponent shouldn't have been able to stop it, yet Yu Chaoqiao had done just that. You really are impressive. You are the first person my age to stop my punch after I used limit removal. Yi Yuqing could not help but praise Yu Chaoqiao. However, you should give up. I cannot afford to lose this match. My strength is 50% higher than when this fight started. You have no chance of winning. Yi Yuqing could not help but admire Yu Chaoqiao. If not for her being a White Tiger Dojo disciple, she definitely would not have been a match for Yu Chaoqiao. Saying so, Yi Yuqing took half a step forward. Cracks began to appear on the stage beneath her feet. Her legs, waist and shoulders twisting, Yi Yuqing concentrated all of her strength into her fist. Half-step collapsing punch. In Yi Yuqing's opinion, Yu Qiao had only caught her punch due to luck. It was very likely that Yu Qiao had grabbed her wrist before her fist accelerated. Although Yu Qiao currently had a firm hold on her wrist, if she went all out, Yu Qiao had no hope of stopping her. Moreover, her fist was less than 10 centimeters away from Yu Qiao. At this distance, Yu Qiao wouldn't be able to dodge the hit. Even diverting her attack trajectory would not be possible. Pang! Immediately, Yu Qiao took a step back, the stone floor beneath her feet cracking. Unexpectedly, however, Yu Qiao's firm on her opponent's fist was firm. She did not let Yi Yuqing's fist get close to her shoulder. Yi Yuqing was shocked. The young woman blocked her full-powered punch. As expected of a genius from the White Tiger Dojo, it was a tough fight without limit removal. Let's continue our earlier fight. Yu Qiao smiled slightly, a hint of excitement flashing in her eyes. Yi Yuqing was momentarily stunned. Based on the way Yu Qiao spoke, it was obvious that she, too, had grasped limit removal and simply hadn't used it yet. Although Yi Yuqing wanted to respond, Yu Qiao was already moving. Yu Qiao twisted her fist and broke free from Yi Yuqing's hold. Immediately after, her body spun as she sent a spiral kick at Yi Yuqing's head, her leg cutting through the air like a menacing scythe. Suddenly, Yi Yuqing felt death loom over her. Not daring to be careless, she used her full strength to break free from Yu Qiao's hold and used both arms to block the incoming kick. Thud! The instant Yu Qiao's foot met her arms, Yi Yuqing felt a stinging pain deep into her bones. Afterward, her arms grew numb. She felt as if she had been hit by a car as she flew backward. However, reacting quickly, Yi Yuqing adjusted her posture so that she would land on her feet. In the end, Yi Yuqing only stabilized herself after retreating another 8 steps. Impossible! Yi Yuqing wore an incredulous look as she stared at Yu Qiao, who now stood over 10 meters away. Just by blocking one kick, both her arms were numb. She couldn't even move them. Just how strong was Yu Qiao? Meanwhile, the audience stared with wide eyes, their gaze fixed on Yu Qiao. Just who is that girl? Xueqi nearly shouted when he saw Yi Yuqing fly through the air. Xueqi could also see the blood vessels on Yu Qiao's forehead surface slightly. After factoring in Yu Qiao's sudden burst of strength, even a fool could tell that Yu Qiao had used limit removal. However, limit removal was one of the top dojos and training centers' secret techniques. How could Yu Qiao have learned and grasped it? Yi Yuqing had trained arduously for 2 years under countless masters' guidance to grasp limit removal. Yet, not only had Yu Qiao grasped the technique, but it was also obvious that she could suppress her limiters far more than Yi Yuqing. Even Jiang Tianyuan was surprised. What an amazing little girl! Just who is her master? She can control her strength so freely despite removing her limiter to such a degree. Jiang Tianyuan was curious as he watched Yu Qiao launch a relentless assault against Yi Yuqing. Although grasping limit removal was difficult, trying to exert the additional strength one received to its full potential was even more so. Only those on Xueqi and Tang Jingyao's level could rival Yi Yuqing's standards. It was no longer a matter of talent. Rather, one required careful guidance and a wealth of combat experience to achieve this. Back on the stage, the match between Yu Qiao and Yi Yuqing was incomparably fierce. Every one of their actions shattered the stone floor. Yi Yuqing, who wasn't a match for Yu Qiao's combat experience, had become even less of a match for her opponent. Every blow Yi Yuqing exchanged with Yu Qiao hurt her to the bone. In the end, Yu Qiao found a massive weakness in Yi Yuqing's defense as she launched a palm strike at the woman's shoulder, shoving Yi Yuqing off the stage. Yi Yuqing realized that this was Yu Qiao's way of showing mercy. Had she not taken pity on her opponent, Yi Yuqing would have suffered more than just a fall off the stage. A genius? Yi Yuqing looked up at Yu Qiao. Suddenly, she found that all of the praise she had received from others, calling her a genius, truly laughable. Ignoring all other aspects, Yu Qiao was leaps and bounds above her regarding her strength after executing limit removal. Her defeat was only a matter of course. After Yi Yuqing fell off the stage, the referee announced the match's winner. Yu Qiao. As the referee announced the outcome, the arena fell silent for a moment. Then, loud cheering filled the venue. This breathtaking match had truly surprised every spectator. The Big Dipper Dojo's name etched itself deeply into everyone's mind. After all, among the 4 people taking part in the semifinals, 3 belonged to the Big Dipper Dojo. There were dozens of dojos and training centers from the 6 cities participating in this competition. Among them were the White Tiger Dojo and a large number of independent contestants. Sending all 3 representatives to the semifinals was a miracle. The Big Dipper Dojo? I am definitely going to apply to join it tomorrow. Many among the audience had already decided to join the Big Dipper Dojo no matter what. Even the contestants consider the option. Among those in the VIP stands, some celebrated while others worried. Xueqi was naturally ecstatic. With this, the Big Dipper Dojo's fame would spread throughout the 6 cities. Xueqi, on the other hand, felt both rage and helplessness. He had never thought that his first attempt of benefiting the dojo would end so miserably. However, Xueqi hadn't given up yet. There was still the savage Evil Fire. It was still possible that Evil Fire could secure the championship. This would be much better than letting the Big Dipper Dojo win. Now that the 4 semi-finalists had been decided, due to this being a friendly match, as long as Xueqi defeated Evil Fire, the Big Dipper Dojo would win the competition. Everyone very much looked forward to the first match of the semi-finals between Xueqi and Evil Fire. It took roughly 20 minutes to repair the stage. Once the repairs were complete, Xueqi and Evil Fire approached the stage. However, as the referee was about to announce the start of the competition, Evil Fire stopped him and said, "Wait. Contestant Evil Fire, is there an issue?" the referee asked curiously. "Before the match, I have something to say," Evil Fire, who looked like a brown bear, said, grinning. "All right, but I can only give you 1 minute." The referee nodded. 10 seconds will be enough. Evil Fire laughed. He then received the microphone and shifted his gaze to Xueqi in the VIP stands. Emanating a dominant aura, he proudly proclaimed, "Head Instructor Xueqi, I have come here today for one reason and one reason only. I have heard that you are one of Zero Wing's upper echelons, so I hope that you can convey a message to Black Flame for me. Tell him that I, Evil Fire, want to challenge him in God's domain. Does he dare fight me?" Chapter 1300. Black Flame's Fame. Evil Fire. This is interesting. As Xueqi looked at Evil Fire, he tried to remember his past. He hadn't actually heard this name before, yet based on the skill Evil Fire displayed, Xueqi concluded that the youth was extraordinary. Evil Fire should be someone powerful in God's domain. Otherwise, the youth wouldn't have here to challenge him so confidently. Evil Fire's words echoed throughout the sports arena. Meanwhile, everyone else in the venue had fallen silent. Everyone was stunned. Nobody could have imagined that Evil Fire's goal in this competition was to challenge someone. He hadn't even challenged someone in the real world, but someone in God's domain. What's going on? Crap, he's challenging someone to a fight in a game? Why can't he just do that in the game? Did he really have to do this here? What do you know? He is talking about Black Flame. Who is Black Flame? Is he someone amazing? You don't play God's domain, so you might not know, but Black Flame is the guild leader of Star Moon Kingdom's #1 guild. The secret pavilion even gave him the title Sword King. He is a mythical existence, and countless experts in God's domain want to challenge him. However, why would someone as important as Black Flame accept every challenge? Moreover, Black Flame's whereabouts are always a mystery. He's incredibly hard to find. I never thought that the Big Dipper Dojo would be related to Zero Wing. This is going to be interesting. Since Evil Fire is so strong in the real world, I wonder how strong he is in God's domain? Ha ha ha. This is interesting. I am definitely going to watch the fight between Evil Fire and Black Flame. I doubt Black Flame will agree to it. After all, he is Zero Wing's guild leader. This is where Evil Fire is smart. Big Dipper's head instructor is one of Zero Wing's upper echelons, so Big Dipper and Zero Wing must have a close relationship. Meanwhile, Evil Fire put his strength on display for everyone to see. Now that he has challenged Black Flame in front of so many people, he'd be hard to ignore. If Black Flame refuses the fight, not only will this smear Zero Wing's reputation, but it might also affect Big Dipper's reputation. Although many among the audience had no idea who Black Flame was, those who did promptly explained. Very quickly, everyone became familiar with the name. At the same time, they grew curious about how strong this Black Flame was. After all, someone as strong as Evil Fire had issued this dramatic request. For some time, this unexpected announcement boosted Big Dipper and Zero Wings' fame for some time. This little bastard. He used my friendly competition to challenge someone in a game. Xueqi glared at Evil Fire, rage burning in his eyes. He wanted nothing more than to murder the youth with his own hands. Had Evil Fire simply challenged Black Flame, he would not have minded it as much. The issue was that Evil Fire had defeated Gu Chen. Gu Chen was one of the White Tiger Dojo's geniuses, yet Evil Fire used the fame of his victory as a stepping stone to challenge Black Flame. This was a slap in the face for the White Tiger Dojo. Meanwhile, Shadow Sword and Turtle Dove, standing beside the main stage, were furious. This bastard overestimates himself. He dares to challenge the guild leader. Jinghong, make sure that you take care of him later. Turtle Dove's gaze burned with rage. If she didn't have to recuperate after using limit removal, she'd take care of the brat herself. Leave it to me. I'll make sure this kid spends several months in the hospital after the competition. Shadow Sword nodded seriously. In God's domain, challenging a guild's leader was the equivalent of declaring war on the entire guild. They could not let such an insult slide. Head instructor sure. 2 days. I'll give you all 2 days to prepare. When the time comes, I'll head to White River City's Divine Coliseum for the challenge. Hopefully, Black Flame doesn't chicken out. Evil Fire smiled at Shi Feng. He then tossed the microphone back to the referee before turning and leaving the stage gallantly. After catching the microphone, the referee noticed Evil Fire leaving the stage. Hurriedly he reminded, contestant Evil Fire. If you step off of the stage, you will forfeit the match. I have already achieved my goal. Consider this match my loss. Evil Fire responded nonchalantly. Saying so, Evil Fire descended the steps. He paid no attention to the competition's outcome. Everyone was stunned. He surrendered? He's not going to continue? Crap. He's too cool. Doesn't he want the 5 million credits? Does he need to go this far? Did he really join this competition just to challenge Black Flame? The audience was shocked as they watched Evil Fire leave the arena, ignoring the championship prize. Not many had the opportunity to earn 5 million credits. Meanwhile, due to Evil Fire forfeit, Yu Zipping won the match. Naturally, the Big Dipper Dojo had secured the championship. As for the position of champion, neither Shadow Sword nor Turtle Dove cared as both focused on God's domain. They were no longer interested in the fighting world. Hence, in the end, Yu Zipping was crowned champion. This set off a commotion among the various dojos and training centers' upper echelons. The normal audience might not know much about Yu Zipping's background, but they did. Yu Zipping had been an intermediate disciple in the White Tiger Dojo. Now, however, he had left the dojo and won this competition's championship. This would seriously wound the White Tiger Dojo's reputation. Xueqi wore an ugly expression. Although he wanted to rage and kill Yu Zipping personally, he had a much larger problem to deal with. Jiang Tianyuan, who had been silent for some time now. Chiwen, I believe that you know what to do. I want an explanation for this. Once we return, you will also explain yourself to the head hall master. You are aware of the consequences if we're not satisfied with your explanation. Jiang Tianyuan glanced at Xueqi. He then stood and walked away. Although he hadn't reprimanded Xueqi with his words, his chilling tone stole the strength from Xueqi's legs. Jiang Tianyuan's anger was reasonable. After all, Yu Zipping's performance today had been shocking. The youth definitely qualified to join the main branch for concentrated training, yet such a talented fighter had represented the Big Dipper Dojo. Explain to the head hall master? Xueqi suddenly felt faint. Compared to the White Tiger Dojo's head hall master, he was nothing. Although he was one of the dojo's geniuses, he was only a genius. He wasn't a powerhouse. Normally, he would encounter the head hall master a few times a year, yet he was told that he would have to present his case to such an important figure. Xueqi felt wronged. Although he had chosen Lu Huajie for personal reasons, his decision had been logical as Lu Huajie had been much stronger than Yu Ziping. However, Yu Ziping had become so powerful, so much so that he had defeated Lu Huajie. How could he possibly know what was going on? As the competition ended, the audience gradually departed the arena. As they left, they discussed Evil Fire's challenge to Black Flame. Meanwhile, as Shi Feng and the others prepared to leave the VIP stands, Gan Xingting stopped them. "May I know what business Instructor Gan has with us?" Xiao Yu asked, smiling. They had won the friendly match fair and square. Even the White Tiger Dojo couldn't find an excuse to cause them trouble. They also had tens of thousands of witnesses. If the White Tiger Dojo tried to do something here, it would only humiliate the dojo further. Chapter 1301. Competition. Seeing Gan Xingting block Shi Feng's group, the various upper echelons stopped to watch, curious to see what the White Tiger Dojo intended to do. The White Tiger Dojo had hosted this friendly competition to spread its fame throughout the 6 cities. Yet, the Big Dipper Dojo had benefited. It would be a lie to say that the White Tiger Dojo was not furious. Ignoring the stares, Gan Xingting glanced at Shi Feng before turning to Xiao Yu. Displeased, he said, "Hall Master Zhang would like to invite Head Instructor Shi for tea. May I know if Head Instructor Shi is free?" An invite from Hall Master Zhang? Everyone who heard this was momentarily stunned. Zhang Tianyuan stood at the peak of the fighting industry. He was practically a living legend. Zhang Tianyuan had also played a large part in lifting the White Tiger Dojo to its current status. Moreover, Zhang Tianyuan's disciples were all extraordinary. He also had influence in various other industries. Countless people dreamed of forming a connection with the man. Unfortunately, very few ever had the opportunity. And yet Zhang Tianyuan had sent an invitation. Moreover, by the looks of it, he only wished to speak with Shi Feng, not the others from Big Dipper. I'm afraid you'll have to ask Head Instructor Shi himself. Xiao Yu frowned before turning to Shi Feng. He wasn't afraid of the White Tiger Dojo as a business rival. However, he was afraid of the White Tiger Dojo using other methods to deal with them. One such example was poaching Shi Feng. In fact, these situations were common. The Big Dipper Dojo's achievements were all thanks to Shi Feng. Now that Zhang Tianyuan wanted to meet with the man, Xiao Yu felt threatened. If Zhang Tianyuan poached Shi Feng, developing the Big Dipper Dojo and the Big Dipper Group further would be out of the question. The White Tiger Dojo possessed wealth and influence. Even if Shi Feng became one of its branch hall masters, he would enjoy far more benefits than the Big Dipper Group could ever hope to offer. However, it also would not do to refuse Zhang Tianyuan. After all, Zhang Tianyuan had taken the initiative to invite Shi Feng. If they refused to meet with him, Zhang Tianyuan would consider it disrespect. If that happened, even if Zhang Tianyuan didn't act personally, his followers would be more than enough to make the Big Dipper Group suffer. Hence, Xiao Yu could only leave the decision to Shi Feng. "Lead the way," Shi Feng responded calmly and without hesitation. They were bound to meet sooner or later. After all, if he wanted Yu Ziping to join Zero Wing, he would have to overcome the hurdle known as Zhang Tianyuan first. Following which, Gan Xingting led Shi Feng to the arena's top-floor lounge. "Big brother, what do we do? If Zhang Tianyuan offers Shi Feng something that he can't refuse, the Big Dipper Dojo will be finished," Xiao Yan asked anxiously as he watched Shi Feng walk away. He had to admit that Shi Feng had already become irreplaceable in Big Dipper. If Shi Feng left, Big Dipper would backslide. "We can't let Zhang Tianyuan poach him. No matter what it takes, we must convince him to stay. I heard that he and Ruashi are close. Think of a way to convince her to help us. At most, we'll concede a slightly higher percentage of our profits when negotiating with the Zhao Group." Xiao Yu was determined to compete with the White Tiger Dojo. In the top-floor lounge. As soon as Shi Feng entered the room, he sensed 4 piercing gazes locking onto him. The origins of these ominous looks stood beside Zhang Tianyuan. 3 of these people were men, and 1 was a woman. All 4 wore black suits and appeared to be Zhang Tianyuan's bodyguards. Although they only stood there, they radiated a chilling aura. It was very obvious that they weren't like the pampered children, Gu Chen and Yi Yuqing. These people must have experienced many trials and tribulations. Moreover, their auras were even more intense than Lei Bao's. Of course, that was not to say that these 4 people were stronger than Lei Bao. It was simply because Lei Bao kept his aura hidden. Shifeng didn't doubt that, if he showed the slightest hint of a threat, these 4 would immediately move to kill him. The White Tiger Dojo really is impressive. They've even hired such extraordinary bodyguards. Shifeng swept his gaze across these 4 people, noticing that they all had falcon tattoos on the back of the hands. This mark belonged to none other than the Black Falcon Alliance. The Black Falcon Alliance was a globally renowned mercenary alliance. Anyone who wanted this tattoo had to earn the Black Falcon Alliance's acknowledgement first. The organization's ordinary members simply weren't worthy. As Shifeng entered the room, Jiang Tianyuan smiled as he gestured to the sofa before him and said, "Sit." Only then did the 4 Black Falcon bodyguards relax a little. However, their gazes never once left Shifeng. Shifeng ignored the gazes as he approached Jiang Tianyuan. Seeing Shifeng's reaction, Jiang Tianyuan inwardly praised his guest. He was very familiar with his 4 bodyguards' strength. If all 4 worked together, even an internal force expert wouldn't walk away unscathed. Very few youngsters like Shifeng could remain unperturbed under their attention. After emptying the teacup placed before him, Shifeng smiled and asked, "Hallmaster Jiang, may I know what business you wish to discuss?" "Young man, you are quite impatient. This isn't your average tea. This is the Green God Company's Harmony Tea. Savoring it properly will aid in one's mental recovery and help expand one's mind," Jiang Tianyuan said, his heart aching as Shifeng downed the tea. Shifeng couldn't help his surprise. "So, this is the rumored Harmony Tea." Shifeng looked at the teapot on the table incredulously. The taste had been unique. However, he had not paid much attention to it. Although he had considered the possibility that it might be poisoned, it was highly unlikely. Even if the White Tiger Dojo disregarded its reputation, Jiang Tianyuan would keep his intact. Harmony Tea was unique to the Green God Company. Unfortunately, it was difficult to produce, so it wasn't sold to the public. Although its recovery and enhancement effects were not as strong as the S-rank nutrient fluid, it had an aspect that the nutrient fluids couldn't compare to. Unlike the S-rank nutrient fluid, Harmony Tea had a milder energy. One might not notice any immediate effects, but in the long run, the tea could help improve a person's physique and extend their lifespan. It could also assist in developing one's mental potential. It was no wonder that, despite being over 50 years old, Jiang Tianyuan only appeared to be in his 30s. As expected of the White Tiger Dojo, they can get their hands on such a rare product. Shifeng was a little jealous. If he could obtain a large amount of Harmony Tea, he would have a much easier time nurturing Zero Wings experts. He had to admit that, no matter what he wanted to do, resources were very important. "All right, I'll cut to the chase. I don't want to waste a youngster's time. I've asked you here for 2 things. Seeing Shifeng's interest in the Harmony Tea, Jiang Tianyuan could not help but smile as he said, "The first involves you zipping. I hope that you will allow him to return to the White Tiger Dojo. He has a lot of potential. He will have a better future if he develops in the White Tiger Dojo. That is up to him. I cannot choose for him." Shifeng waved his hand, showing that he had no interest in this issue. In reality, he did not care which dojo Yu Zipping developed in. He only cared cared Yu Zipping's choices in God's domain. "You are quite the mysterious youth." Shifeng's reply stunned Jiang Tianyuan. He simply couldn't fathom why Shifeng would willingly let go of such a talent so easily. However, he didn't think that Shifeng had lied. He had prepared counter-arguments if Shifeng refused, but his efforts had been wasted. "Since that is the case, I'll have to trouble you to pass the message on. Now that the first issue has been addressed, let's get to the second matter. Please speak. The second matter involves you. I'd like to invite you to join the White Tiger Dojo." Chapter 1302. Daylight Robbery. Join the White Tiger Dojo? Shifeng was slightly surprised by the offer. While it was common for dojos and training centers to poach personnel from each other, the targets were normally disciples. Instructors were rarely approached. After all, any instructor was considered a backbone of their establishment. Poaching an instructor was significantly more expensive than a disciple, not to mention a head instructor like himself. If they didn't offer a high enough position, they couldn't tempt him in the least. On the other hand, the White Tiger Dojo's upper echelons would never agree to offer him a position as high as head instructor. There were a limited number of head instructor positions available, and every head instructor was a part of the White Tiger Dojo's core. The influence they held was immense. Furthermore, he was only the head instructor of a recently established dojo. Trying to poach him by offering a head instructor position would be ludicrous. That's right. I'd like you to join us. However, rather than becoming one of the White Tiger Dojo's instructors, I'd like to invite you to become one of our combat instructors in God's Domain, Jiang Tianyuan said. God's Domain has become increasingly popular. The White Tiger Dojo intends to secure a piece of that pie. However, at the end of the day, there are some differences between combat in God's Domain and combat in the real world. Hence, we wish to recruit some God's Domain experts to train our disciples. I heard that Zero Wing is quite capable in this aspect. Hence, I wish to hire you as one of our God's Domain instructors. Of course, you will receive the benefits of a White Tiger Dojo advanced instructor. Although the White Tiger Dojo had many instructors, there were extremely few advanced instructors. Every advanced instructor was also an internal force expert. Even hall masters such as himself treated these individuals with respect. Countless experts envied them for the benefits they received. Jiang Tianyuan's offer stunned his 4 bodyguards. Although they were bodyguards, they were also Black Falcon Alliance experts. Their understanding of the White Tiger Dojo was more acute than ordinary people. Hence, they knew just how powerful the White Tiger Dojo's advanced instructors were. Even the Black Falcon Alliance's mainstays had to treat them with respect. Sometimes, the Alliance would even request training from these instructors. It wasn't even a guarantee that these instructors would agree. It was very difficult to imagine that a youngster in his early 20s would have the opportunity to become an advanced instructor in the White Tiger Dojo. Forget about the advanced instructor position. What other benefits can you offer? Shifeng said, shaking his head. He wasn't particularly interested in becoming an advanced instructor in the White Tiger Dojo. While the fame and influence that came with the position were tempting, they were not particularly useful to him. Other benefits? Jiang Tianyuan gave Shifeng an odd look. Curiously he asked, "What do you have in mind?" The position was a good opportunity to gain some renown in the fighting industry. Countless people coveted the position, yet Shifeng didn't seem interested. S-rank nutrient fluid or harmony tea, both are acceptable, Shifeng said after giving the matter some thought. As for the exact amount, that depends on how many players you'd like me to train. My price is roughly 20 people per bottle. I can guarantee that they will reach the trial tower's 5th floor within a short time. Both S-rank nutrient fluid and harmony tea would significantly help his guild's experts. They were far more practical than the position of advanced instructor. Moreover, Stone Forest Town had the battle arena. It was an excellent location to nurture experts. Including the fact that the White Tiger Dojo's disciples would start with sturdy foundations, it would not be difficult to train them to the 5th floor standard in a short time. Hearing Shifeng's words, the 4 bodyguards rolled their eyes. Each bottle of S-rank nutrient fluid sold for 1 million credits on the market. Yet Shifeng wanted 1 bottle for training 20 experts. Even when the Black Falcon Alliance hired advanced instructors from the White Tiger Dojo to teach 300 of their elite members, it didn't pay 1 million credits per month. Shifeng's demand was simply daylight robbery. Your request is too expensive. Jiang Tianyuan frowned. He more or less understood God's Domain. Hence, he knew just what kind of standards a 5th floor expert in God's Domain possessed. Furthermore, the White Tiger Dojo's disciples were already combat experts. Even if they simply experimented themselves, they could easily reach the 5th floor. I am willing to offer 1 bottle for 100 players. The first session will include 500 players. At the very least, I want them to reach the trial tower's 6th floor within 1 month. Reaching the 6th floor within 1 month is too difficult. If you want all 500 to reach that standard, I'll take no less than 50 bottles. Otherwise, you'll have to find someone else. Hall Master Jiang. Shifeng hadn't expected Jiang Tianyuan to be so familiar with God's Domain. Unfortunately, his understanding wasn't sufficiently thorough. Reaching the trial tower's 6th floor was the equivalent of being an expert in a first-rate guild. Even with strong foundations, it would take a lot of training to reach such a standard. Of course, some players with extraordinary talent could do it in a short time. However, not everyone was so gifted. Moreover, nurturing 500 people would cost a frightening amount of resources. The Blackwater Corporation had invested an astronomical amount of manpower and resources to nurture their experts. Yet the White Tiger Dojo wanted to offer a few bottles of S-rank nutrient fluids to achieve the same. If he only charged 1 bottle per 100 people, he would very quickly go bankrupt. Seeing Xueqi unwilling to yield, Jiang Tianyuan fell silent for a moment. We can't possibly part with so many bottles. I can offer 10 at most. We can pay for the rest with credits, Jiang Tianyuan said, yielding slightly. S-rank nutrient fluids were extremely precious, even to the White Tiger Dojo. They used a large number during every national competition, not to mention international competitions. They did not have a lot to spare. I will only accept S-rank nutrient fluids and harmony tea. If Hall Master Jiang cannot make this decision at the moment, I can wait until you return and discuss it with your colleagues, Xueqi said resolutely. He had other ways to obtain credits. Moreover, he had already begun constructing his city. Once it was complete, the potential of virtual property would see explosive growth. At that time, he could easily rake in tons of credits. All right then. I'll discuss it with the others once I return. However, I doubt that I'll receive a positive response, Jiang Tianyuan said, sighing. Following which, Xueqi left the lounge. After Xueqi left, someone else entered the lounge from a connected room. This man wore black and white martial artist robes. He felt indescribably approachable. The instant he entered this room, it felt as if the world revolved around him. Hallmaster, this kid simply doesn't know how to appreciate a favor. Not only wasn't he grateful for your personal invitation, but his demands were also exorbitant. Should I stir up some trouble for the Big Dipper Dojo? The man asked angrily. Forget it. I had only asked on a whim. Even if he agrees to my offer, the final decision rests with the head hall master. After all, the other hall masters have other recommendations, Jiang Tianyuan said as he waved off the angry man's concern. Jinhai City is our problem now. With today's outcome, our plans have been interrupted. Tianji, you'll replace Chiwen as the branch manager here. Think of a way to restore the White Tiger Dojo's reputation here. Also, lead the first batch of disciples in God's domain and introduce them to the game. Help them acclimate to the game's mechanics. At the very least, make sure they aren't completely clueless when their training begins. Hallmaster, rest assured. I have already seen to the necessary preparations. Every disciple has already been given an advanced virtual gaming helmet, while advanced disciples have access to virtual gaming cabins. By the time the other hallmasters make their move, we will have gained a stable foothold in God's domain, the man named Tianji said, laughing. As soon as Xueqi returned to the Greenwater Villa, he logged back into God's domain. He had just discovered some clues on how to proceed with his Tier 2 promotion quest. Meanwhile, Evil Fire's challenge posed too much of a threat. If he did not deal with it properly, he would become a laughingstock in White River City. It might even affect the Big Dipper Dojo's reputation. He had no intentions of wasting today's results. Chapter 1303. Secret Alchemy Technique. In the quiet herb garden, Xueqi discovered quite a few level 65, Tier 3 demonic guards and 2-headed demonic hounds in the courtyard as he logged in. Unlike the demonic beasts wandering about, these demonic guards patrolled the inner courtyard in groups of 10, with 2 demonic hounds accompanying each group. Now, it was practically impossible to reach the tower safely. Demonic Guard. Dark Creature. Demon. Level 65. HP 30, 000, 000/30, 000, 000. 2-headed demonic hound. Dark Creature. Great Lord. Level 65. HP 52, 000, 000/52, 000, 000. Even with Anna and Kite's assistance, Taking on 12 great lords at the same time would be suicidal. What a tight security. This quest really isn't giving me any chances to break through. After observing the patrolling monster's pattern for over 10 minutes, Xueqi smiled bitterly. Because he had ransacked the herb garden earlier, Raymond wouldn't give him a second chance. Demons were far more intelligent than demonic beasts. Even if he attracted only one demon's attention, the entire squad would charge at him. They would not give him any opportunities to pick them off one by one. Moreover, several squads patrolled the inner courtyard. The moment he set foot in the inner courtyard, he wouldn't have to face just one squad. At the very least, 3 or 4 squads would chase him down. Demons were very similar to NPCs. They were capable of cooperation. Hence, the more demons in an area, the more combat power they could exhibit. Even a 1,000-man team couldn't defeat so many Tier 3 demons at the same time, not to mention one person. It is impossible to reach the tower by force. I have no choice but to find a different way. Xueqi temporarily gave up on the idea of breaking through the patrols. He then shifted his gaze to other locations. The inner courtyard was very large. Although there was only one main entrance, there were quite a few side entrances leading to the inner courtyard. Only, these side entrances were not as convenient as the main entrance, which led directly to the tower. As Xueqi was about to move towards one of the side entrances to take a look, a noise in the courtyard distracted him. Turning, Xueqi noticed 6 massive figures moving rapidly towards the herb garden. These figures didn't notice Xueqi as they dashed towards the silver moon tree. These 6 massive figures were none other than the silver moon bears that had fled earlier. After returning to the silver moon tree, the silver moon bears lazed about. These silver moon bears still dare to return? Xueqi was slightly confused as he watched the silver moon bears snooze peacefully. Although he had already killed off the Tier 3 demonic hunters that had guarded the garden earlier, the magic barrier Raymond had erected was still present. This magic array was a powerful deterrent against demonic beasts. This was also why Xueqi could log out of the game without worry. Yet, the 6 silver moon bears had resisted and barged into the herb garden. Xueqi had previously assumed that the silver moon bears had stayed close to the tree to protect the moonlight fruit. However, it would seem that was not the case. After all, he had already plundered everything the silver moon tree had to offer. That's not right. Why do these silver moon bears seem a little larger than the ones I saw from before? Seeing the slumbering silver moon bears, Xueqi activated omniscient eyes. Silver moon bear, demonic beast, great lord. Level 65. HP 80, 000, 000/80, 000, 000. These bears actually had 6 million more HP than the silver moon bears he had encountered earlier. Why have they grown stronger? Xueqi was slightly confused. Monsters didn't grow stronger unless they underwent an evolution or became a mutant. However, it was very clear that neither scenario had happened to these bears. Could there be something special near the silver moon tree? But I don't think I felt anything different when I was harvesting the moonlight fruits. Xueqi's curiosity grew. However, no matter how he racked his mind, he could only think of one possibility. There was no other explanation for why these silver moon bears would return to rest beside the silver moon tree shortly after he had killed the demonic hunters. Xueqi then slowly approached the silver moon tree. As he walked, he surveyed his surroundings using omniscient eyes constantly to spot for anything hidden. Although his senses did not pick up on anything when he had harvested the moonlight fruit, something may have hidden from his 5 senses. 80 yards. 75 yards. 70 yards. When Xueqi was almost within the silver moon bear's detection range, he heard the sound of a system notification. System. You have discovered an ancient teleportation array. System. Transferable locations. Outer courtyard entrance requires 107 luminary shards. Demon Ceiling Tower's first floor main hall requires 207 luminary shards. Demon Ceiling Tower's research area requires 507 luminary shards. So, the 7 luminary shards serve this purpose as well. Realization dawned on Xueqi when he heard the system notification. He thought the high teleportation fees were utterly fraudulent. Just teleporting to the Demon Ceiling Tower's first floor cost 207 luminary shards. He could synthesize 4 7 luminaries crystals with that amount. Currently, he only had 714 shards on him. He had no other choice. Either he paid the exorbitant fee or fought his way through the horde of demons. Xueqi chose to teleport to the research area without hesitation. Although the price of 500 shards was high, the moon god was famed for its knowledge in alchemy and magic arrays. Every one of the moon god's recipes that circulated the world was extremely valuable. The various grandmaster alchemists coveted every one of these items. Needless to say, the moon god's research area would be extraordinary. Xueqi naturally could not pass up the opportunity to ransack the moon god's research room just to save some 7 luminary shards. Immediately, Xueqi's vision blurred. In the blink of an eye, he found himself inside a spacious crystal hall. The walls gave off a faint, blue radiance. Even without sunlight, light filled the hall. System. You have discovered the research area. This is the research room? Xueqi was slightly surprised as he surveyed his surroundings. There were 3 paths out of the hall, and each one led to a different location. One led to the alchemy room, another led to the research room, and the last was a hallway leading out of the research area. Xueqi was immensely excited. As a god's private tower, there was bound to be treasure. Immediately, Xueqi set off to explore the area. The moon god's alchemy room was like a whole new world. The room was as large as a football field, and there were all sorts of research materials and foundational books. There were also plenty of alchemy tools. Although the majority of the books and tools had been damaged beyond recognition due to the passing of time, the items that survived fascinated Xueqi. Any random alchemy tool he picked up was at least secret silver rank. If sold on the market, they could easily fetch over 10 gold. There were over 300 secret silver tools. There was also a complete set of fine gold alchemy tools. The set was easily as valuable as an epic item. However, no one would be so foolish as to sell the set, regardless of the price. The alchemy tools' value paled in comparison to the books he found. To alchemists, these books were priceless. Among the books he found, 9 were introductions to basic secret alchemy techniques. There were also 2 books about advanced secret alchemy techniques. These tomes were similar to secret technique tablets, but they were much easier to learn than the secret technique tablets. In the past, even Shadow's master alchemists had only learned 2 or 3 basic secret alchemy techniques, and the guild had paid a massive price to do so. Among them, the best secret technique had cost 1 epic item to learn. Of course, this price guaranteed that one would learn the secret technique. If the technique had only allowed 1 player to learn it, it would have only cost a few hundred gold. If an advanced alchemist could learn 3 to 5 basic secret techniques, their chances of becoming a master would double at the very minimum. Anyone who learned the advanced secret techniques would be guaranteed to become a master alchemist. Ha! That is. Suddenly, Xueqi noticed the surrounding mana flowing towards a dilapidated stone table a short distance away. The mana flow was slow and weak. If not for his improved physique after consuming the moonlight fruit, he would have been hard-pressed to notice this mana flow. Chapter 1304. Treasure Transforms. A thick layer of dust covered the stone tablet, and mana circulated around it. After taking a few steps towards the table, Xueqi was assaulted by an immense pressure. This is divine might. Although the divine might was faint, and he only sensed it once he was within 10 yards of the table, Xueqi could still feel himself grow a little sluggish. He was excited. Items only exuded divine might if they were frequently used or painstakingly crafted by a god. Needless to say, any item a god favored would be valuable. While resisting the divine might, Xueqi started to tidy up the table. Although divine might was very powerful, the table only exuded a very faint trace of it. Xueqi could still move normally as he stood less than a yard away from the table. Very quickly, Xueqi removed most of the dust covering the table. Books and materials littered the table. However, due to the passing of time, these items had long since eroded. Aside from some mysterious patterns carved into the table, Xueqi could not find anything noteworthy. Could the table itself be exuding the divine might? Xueqi could not help but frown. He could already tell that the table before him was a treasure. The faint trace of mana around the table would definitely aid refining and synthesis work. The table might even have other function that he hadn't noticed yet. In any case, it was undoubtedly useful for alchemists. Only, the stone table wasn't like other items. It could not be stored in a player's bag space. If Xueqi wanted to take it with him, he would have to carry it. Clearly, this wasn't a viable option. The alchemy table was the size of a pool table. Even if he could carry it, he did not have the leeway to carry it around with him. If I can equip one of the special alchemy rooms with this table, it could help the trading firm's alchemists. Xueqi struggled with his disappointment. Aside from alchemy tools, items such as this alchemy table were extremely precious. A good alchemy table could be as helpful as a basic secret alchemy technique. However, since Xueqi could not take the table with him, he had no choice but to take out the soul orb and absorb it. Since the alchemy table radiated divine might, it could be considered as a god crystal. One of the reasons he had chosen the Azura mode promotion quest was to obtain a large number of god crystals to lift the demon god Paimon's seal. Please let it absorb this table. Xueqi silently prayed. He then clicked the Absorb Divine Power button on the Soul Orb's interface and selected the alchemy table as the target. Currently, no one owned the alchemy table. Xueqi wasn't sure if the Soul Orb could actually absorb an ownerless item. After all, he had never tried. The Soul Orb immediately began to emit a dark smoke, which soon enveloped the table. However, even after several seconds, there was no indication that the smoke was devouring its target. Don't tell me it's not possible, Xueqi muttered worriedly. As soon as Xueqi had said so, however, the sound of a system notification reached his ears. System, do you wish to allow the Soul Orb devour the magic alchemy table? Without hesitation, Xueqi clicked the Agreed button. The magic alchemy table might even be more valuable than an epic weapon, but it was worthless if Xueqi couldn't take it with him. He would rather sacrifice such a treasure to lift the seal on the Soul Orb than leave it behind. As Xueqi clicked Agree, the magic alchemy table began to radiate a golden glow. It was clearly trying to resist. Unfortunately, the Soul Orb was the fragment of the Treasure of Illusion, an item on par with a godly relic. How could a measly magic alchemy table resist it? In the next moment, the magic alchemy table melted at a speed visible to the naked eye. Streams of golden air flowed into the Soul Orb. In less than a minute, the magic alchemy table had vanished. Meanwhile, the Soul Orb statistics had changed slightly. Aside from the absorbed god crystal counter increasing from 0 to 1, it now only required 95 player souls to form a drop of soul water. Absorbing god crystals has other effects? Xueqi could not help his surprise. He was instantly ecstatic. If he didn't need to absorb as many souls, he could craft soul water much faster. Once he finished absorbing the magic alchemy table, he activated omniscient eyes to search the room once again. If he relied only on his 5 senses, it would take him a long time to find other items like the magic alchemy table. He might even miss some. With the omniscient eyes, however, nothing within 100 yards of him could hide. Charlene didn't lie to me. A god's previous residence has plenty of god crystals to offer. After activating omniscient eyes, Xueqi discovered another potential god crystal. This one was a broken chair. Xueqi hadn't noticed the divine might radiating from it earlier due to a suppression magic array, and since it was a broken chair, he hadn't paid any attention to it. Following which, Xueqi absorbed this broken chair, increasing the god crystal counter to 2. To ensure that he didn't miss any god crystals, Xueqi scoured the alchemy room. He scanned the entire room with omniscient eyes again and again. This is surprising. A single room had 4 god crystals. This is a huge harvest. Xueqi's eyes burned with excitement when he saw that the Soul Orb only needed 6 more god crystals to remove Paimon's seal. He only needed 80 souls now to produce a drop of soul water. The Soul Orb had been one of the 7 treasures. However, due to demon god Paimon, it couldn't exert its true strength. The Flower of 7 Sins had nurtured hundreds of experts in the past, even without unlocking the Soul Orb's full potential. If Xueqi could use the Soul Orb without fear of repercussions, the outcome would be incredible. After sweeping through the alchemy room, Xueqi made his way towards the research room. The research room was far more luxurious than the alchemy room as it had been used to invent high-end alchemical products. Until now, the only known location that could help players surpass the master threshold to become grandmasters were Titan City's special rooms. As soon as Xueqi entered the research room, he froze. Why is he here? Xueqi felt as if he had just fallen into a death trap when he saw the familiar figure wandering around the research room. This figure was none other than the dark wizard Raymond. Currently, Raymond was in the midst of concocting a potion. Fortunately for Xueqi, Raymond was very focused on his task. Including the several bookshelves that served as cover and the magic arrays to prevent interruption, Raymond did not discover Xueqi immediately. Even so, Xueqi could feel a headache brewing. The research room was different from the alchemy room. It had been well maintained and was in excellent condition. Needless to say, this room contained several treasures. Even without using omniscient eyes, Xueqi had already noticed 2 potential god crystals. If he used omniscient eyes, he would discover many more. He might even find enough to lift the soul orb seal and still have some to repair other items. Not to mention, the moon god was famous for its alchemy research. Needless to say, the moon god had spent a lot of time in this room. Should I go in, or not? Xueqi knew that if he moved another 10 yards into the room, Raymond would discover him. If he were discovered, he would die. As Xueqi considered his options, an NPC alchemist, who assisted Raymond, began to walk toward Xueqi. Crap! Have I been discovered? Chapter 1305. Perfecting Sword's Orbit. Xueqi frowned as he watched the NPC alchemist approach. However, since this NPC alchemist didn't seem to be in a hurry, it did not seem as if he had been discovered. Unfortunately, the fact that the NPC was heading towards him was still a problem. Although the alchemist before him wasn't as terrifying as Raymond, it was still astoundingly powerful. Baron Xueqi, human, great mage. Level 70. HP 7, 450, 000/7, 450, 000. NPCs might have less HP than monsters and demons of the same level, but when it came to combat techniques and the number of skills they possessed, NPCs were leaps and bounds above monsters and demons. While many experts could contend with Tier 3 monsters, if they tried fighting a Tier 3 NPC, they would be snuffed out of existence. Players' most hated enemies were NPCs. Although the research room was large, there was no place for Xueqi to hide. Moreover, there was only one path behind him. He couldn't avoid Baron Xueqi's detection. With no other choice, Xueqi retreated from the room temporarily. He planned to hide in the alchemy room while he thought of another way to loot the research room. However, after leaving the research room, Xueqi discovered a magic barrier sealing off the path towards the alchemy room. Unfortunately, the hallway he was in was void of obstructions. One could see everything in it with a single glance. Should I leave the tower for now? Xueqi glanced towards the path leading outside. However, he quickly shook the thought from his mind. The path to the alchemy room had been sealed off after he had explored and left it. If he left the research area now, he might not be able to get back in. If that happened, he would lose his opportunity to explore the research room. Aside from the god crystals, precious alchemy tools, and research materials the research room contained, Raymond's 7 luminary sourcestone was enough of a reason to keep Xueqi from leaving. After all, how was he supposed to deal with the Demon King without it? It seems that I have no choice but to fight. Xueqi's gaze drifted back to the research room's door. With the situation as it was, both of his available options would lead to his death. His only hope was to defeat Baron Xueqi. He'd fail his quest if he didn't. Following which, Xueqi summoned Anna and Kite. When he had used the teleportation array to enter the tower earlier, Anna and Kite hadn't teleported with him. They should both still be in the herb garden, so he needed to summon them once again. Although Anna and Kite were not as high-tiered as Baron Xueqi, their combat power was no weaker than an ordinary Tier 3 NPCs. Xueqi had only wanted to avoid a fight with the NPC alchemist for fear of attracting Raymond's attention. If Raymond noticed him, only death would await him. However, now that he had retreated quite a distance away from the research room, he didn't need to hold back. Ha! I can't summon them? Xueqi looked at the two unresponsive summon guard scrolls in his hands, his chest tightening. Suddenly, the door to the research room opened slowly. The hallway was less than 40 yards long. As soon as the Baron Woka left the research room, he noticed Xueqi. Despicable intruder! You dare intrude on this holy land. Guards! Baron Woka shouted. Baron Woka was very loud, and his voice echoed throughout the research area. Damn it! Xueqi hadn't considered that Baron Woka would call for reinforcements. Not only couldn't he summon his personal guards, but now, he also had to deal with more enemies. Fortunately, a magic array isolated the research room from the outside world. No one within the room would hear them out here. Xueqi reacted quickly. Immediately, he activated the aura of Time's absolute time, preventing all enemies within range from using any spells or tools. NPCs were no exception. Heavenly Dragon's power. Blade liberation. Instant strike. Xueqi wouldn't be careless against a Tier 3 NPC. Moreover, now that Baron Woka had called for reinforcements, he would die if he didn't end this before more enemies showed up. He instantly activated twofold Berserk, his basic attributes skyrocketing. With the buff, his basic attributes far surpassed any Tier 3 player of the same level. In the blink of an eye, Xueqi appeared before Baron Woka. Sword's orbit. A galaxy of stars appeared around Xueqi, resplendent and eye-catching. As Xueqi executed Sword's orbit, he felt the technique reach new heights. After consuming 5 moonlight fruits, his physique had permanently improved by 10%. He now had the physique of a Tier 2 player. Hence, his physical control and flexibility had skyrocketed. Baron Woka drowned in starlight. However, Baron Woka was a Tier 3 great mage. Even though he had been silenced, he still had the basic attributes of a Tier 3 NPC. His physical attacks with his staff still posed a threat. In God's domain, although magical classes typically bombarded their enemies with spells, that did not mean they were incapable of melee combat. They were just not fond of it. Silencing a magical class would drastically weaken their combat power. Unfortunately for Xueqi, Baron Woka was extremely adept with his staff, defending and attacking. It was clear that he was executing some kind of advanced combat technique. Players might not be able to predict Sword's orbit's attack trajectories, but the combat technique was nothing to Baron Woka. The NPC deflected every one of Xueqi's attacks. What a brilliant defensive combat technique! Xueqi was surprised. He had never thought that Baron Woka had grasped a combat technique. However, at the end of the day, Instant Strike was a Tier 2 taboo skill. Moreover, Sword's orbit had grown stronger. Even if Baron Woka focused on defense, he couldn't keep up with Xueqi's lightning-quick attacks. Among the 6 strikes Xueqi had sent at the mage, 3 had found their targets. With his cloth armor and weak defense, 3 massive damages appeared above Baron Woka's head. Minus 91,618. Minus 184,983. Minus 93,189. In the blink of an eye, Baron Woka's HP bar had dropped by a sizable chunk. After taking damage, Baron Woka's anxiety surfaced on his pale features. Immediately, he began to retreat towards the research room while shouting, "Guards! Guards! Don't even think about running back into the room." Xueqi quickly circled to Baron Woka's back. Both the Abyssal Blade and Killing Ray bit into the mage, the impact sending the NPC flying over a dozen yards away, increasing the distance between Baron Woka and the research room. Realizing that he was in trouble, Baron Woka wisely felled in the opposite direction. However, Xueqi didn't give the NPC the opportunity to get away as he pointed the Abyssal Blade at the NPC. Abyssal Bind. Suddenly, 9 pitch-black chains emerged from the ground and bound Baron Woka, holding him still for Xueqi. Phantom Kill. 9 Dragon Slash. Unable to defend himself for 3 full seconds, Baron Woka's HP decreased rapidly. 95%, 90%, 80%. However, despite dealing frightening amounts of damage, Xueqi did not feel the pressure on him decrease in the slightest. When Absolute Time's 30-second duration ran out, Baron Woka would be able to save himself. Xueqi needed to kill the NPC before he ran out of time. Furthermore, absolute time was only fully effective against enemies of the same tier. Against Baron Woka, it wouldn't be as effective. According to Xueqi's estimates, he'd be lucky if the skill silenced Baron Woka for half of the duration. Trying to kill Baron Woka in 15 seconds would test Xueqi's explosive power. When Abyssal Bind and Instant Strike's duration ran out, Baron Woka sneered at his enemy. "Despicable intruder, I'm going to offer you to Lord Raymond as a guinea pig." Baron Woka retreated while blocking Xueqi's attacks, which had slowed significantly. "Guards! Get over here and save me." Baron Woka was only 20 yards away from the hallway's exit. Xueqi had only dealt so much damage and overcome Baron Woka's defensive technique due to Instant Strike increasing his attack speed by 500% and damage by 400%. Now that the taboo skill was on cooldown, Baron Woka had a much easier time defending himself. Even against Xueqi and his doppelganger, Baron Woka easily blocked half of the attacks. When Baron Woka's HP fell to 43% and the NPC was about to leave the hallway, Xueqi used everything he had left. Abyssal Curse. Suddenly, as if Baron Woka had just stepped in muck, he couldn't move or attack. Dragon Breath. Divine Providence. Both Xueqi and his doppelganger used flame bursts simultaneously and dealt a total of 30 devastating attacks. Every attack devoured over 100,000 of Baron Woka's HP. Eventually, the NPC alchemist's HP fell to 0. Baron Woka glared at Xueqi with reluctance as he collapsed to the ground. Chapter 1306. Unforgivable Person. The instant Baron Woka's body hit the ground, a golden glow enveloped Xueqi's body as his experience bar increased from 82% of level 50 to 4% of level 51. He obtained more EXP from the NPC alchemist than from the 2 Tier 3 demonic hunters he had killed earlier. Suddenly, Xueqi heard the sound of a system notification. System. Congratulations! You have killed the fallen Baron Woka. You may head to the Alchemists Association at a later time to retrieve the Hand of Alchemy as your reward. So he was a fallen. No wonder why he gave so much EXP. Realization dawned on Xueqi as he read the system notification. He was also ecstatic. Fallen was a very rare title in God's domain as it was akin to receiving a bounty from the human race as a whole. The Fallen had committed far more severe crimes against the human race than Dark players. Normally, one only gained this title after destroying an NPC city. Obviously, anything capable of destroying an entire NPC city had to be terrifyingly powerful. In fact, it was very easy to tell how powerful Baron Woka actually was by his defensive combat technique. If not for absolute time silence effect, Xueqi wouldn't even have a corpse to speak of right now. As Baron Woka died, a pile of items had appeared around his corpse. At a glance, Xueqi counted at least 50 items. What a rich NPC! Xueqi was stunned. Although the majority of the loot consisted of various attribute gemstones, these gemstones were extraordinary. Even the most inferior among them were Tier 3. Several rare gemstones had also dropped. The Mana Gemstone was one example. When equipped, the Mana Gemstone increased a player's maximum mana by 3%. Each player could equip a maximum of 3 Mana Gemstones. In the past, these gemstones easily fetched over 200 gold on the market. They had never gone out of style. There was also the Magic Barrier Gemstone. When equipped, it would wrap players in a magic barrier that reduced all damage received by 2%. As with other gemstones, only 3 could be equipped at a time. It was an amazing gemstone for MTs. In the past, each had sold for 400 gold. Lastly, there was the Dexterity Gemstone. When equipped, it improved a player's physique by 1%. It was also the most expensive gemstone on the market, with each easily selling for 1,000 gold in the past. However, it was as difficult to obtain as it was expensive. Shadow had only ever gotten its hands on a total of 11 Dexterity Gemstones in the past. Yet, Xueqi had just obtained 4 Dexterity Gemstones by killing Baron Woka. Xueqi had also obtained 6 Mana Gemstones and 5 Magic Barrier Gemstones. including the other Tier 3 attribute gemstones and slightly rare gemstones. Overall, Xueqi had earned over 10,000 gold's worth of gemstones by killing Baron Woka. Baron Woka had dropped 3 other items as well, 2 of which were equipment. One of the 2 pieces of equipment was a level 60 fine gold ring called Chanter's Ring. Although its basic attributes were average at best, when equipped, it increased the wearer's spellcasting speed by 2%. It was an effect that magic classes were desperate for. The other piece of equipment was a cape called Alchemist's Pledge. Although it was only a level 50 fine gold cape, and its basic attributes were very poor, the cape had 2 passive skills that any alchemist would want: Mental Focus and Soul of Alchemy. Mental Focus increased the wearer's focus when carrying out a task. Although it didn't seem like a special effect, it was even more useful than high mana density when one crafted items. Soul of Alchemy was even more impressive. The skill increased the wearer's alchemical success rate by 3% and production speed by 30%. With these passive skills, it would be a piece of cake for alchemists to raise their proficiency quickly. Moreover, these skills would assist players with their promotion to Master and Grandmaster rank. I can offer the Alchemist's Pledge as the benefit for the trading firm's chief alchemist. Xueqi smiled. Any guild or trading firm that wanted its members to improve quickly needed to provide a competitive environment. To gain this competitive edge, they needed to offer powerful benefits as motivation. While the Candlelight trading firm offered various benefits, none of them were unique. Its benefits weren't particularly tempting to the truly excellent lifestyle players out there. However, if he offered the Alchemist's Pledge as a benefit for becoming Candlelight's chief alchemist, it would spark a burning passion in the trading firm's alchemists. He also had secret alchemy techniques. He could similarly use these techniques as a reward for alchemists who performed well. Following which, Xueqi picked up the last item Baron Woka had dropped. This item was an old, grey key. It was clear that it had originated from an ancient era and hadn't truly belonged to Baron Woka. Xueqi then clicked to check the item's introduction. However, he discovered that the item couldn't be appraised. Cannot be appraised? What kind of key is this? Xueqi's curiosity grew. Omniscient eyes. The system reported that he would need 20 seconds to appraise the key. The duration was even longer than when he appraised epic items. Time passed quickly. When the loading bar was finally complete, the grey key transformed. The key started to radiate a faint, golden glow. Moon God's Secret Key, unique. Possesses the power to control all magic arrays in the Moonlight Courtyard. Can also be used to lock or unlock the Moonlight Courtyard's rooms. So, they could enter and leave this place freely due to this key. Realization dawned on Xueqi. The Moon God created the Moonlight Courtyard. Even if the Moon God were no longer here, not just any entity could take up residence in the courtyard due to its many powerful traps. Even someone as powerful as Raymond would lose his life if he accidentally triggered a trap. However, it was a different story if Raymond had the Moon God's secret key. With this, he could move around the Moonlight Courtyard as if it were his own backyard. Raymond must have asked Baron Woka to pick something up for him. This is a convenient development. Xueqi suddenly thought of a plan to obtain the 7 Luminaries Source Stone. The 7 Luminaries Source Stone was the key component for completing his promotion quest. Without it, sealing the Demon King was practically impossible. Xueqi hadn't had a way to secure the stone as he wasn't strong enough to take our Raymond. However, the situation had changed. With the Moon God's secret key, he had full control over the Moonlight Courtyard. First, Xueqi had to rest. Since he had activated Twofold Berserk, he was currently in a weakened state, his attributes having decreased significantly. With his current attributes, he wouldn't even have time to react to Raymond's casual attacks, much less steal the 7 Luminaries Source Stone. With nothing better to do in the meantime, Xueqi logged out of God's domain and entered his offline space. Unlike in the Dark Canyon, he still had access to his communication system in the offline space. The moment Xueqi logged out of God's domain, he received a series of system notifications, all of which were messages from within God's domain. Overall, he had received dozens of messages and several communication requests. Why are so many people trying to contact me? Xueqi gave the notifications an odd look. Aside from Aqua Rose and Gentle Snow, Phoenix Rain had even sent him urgent messages. Moreover, she had tried to call him 3 times. Has something happened? Xueqi opened his friends list and called Aqua Rose. Chapter 1307. Qualitatively Changing a Town. Inside the dim offline space, a few seconds after Xueqi made the call request, Aqua Rose connected to the video call. Currently, the video showed Aqua Rose out in the field, a slightly anxious expression on her face. Moreover, the sounds of an intense battle seemed to come from every direction. Guild leader, your communication system is finally up, Aqua Rose said, sighing with relief. Her frown relaxed slightly. I was prepared to send Blackie to go and knock on your cabin. Has something happened? Xueqi asked as he examined Aqua Rose's tired expression. He had logged back into God's domain a short time ago, and before he had returned, he hadn't received a single message, yet as soon as he logged out, so many people had tried to contact him. Whatever Aqua Rose wanted to talk about, it must be important. Otherwise, with Aqua Rose's capabilities, she would have solved the problem without contacting him. Since Gentle Snow had joined Zero Wing, Aqua Rose had a much easier time managing the guild's affairs. This was even after taking into account the guild's expansion. In fact, Aqua Rose and Gentle Snow were so capable that they could solve many issues without his help. Hence, he had been able to challenge his promotion quest without worrying about his guild. Not long ago, Heaven's Burial gained access to Evernight City. They've turned the Frozen Scar map into an Azura mode regional dungeon. Based on the information Evernight City published, a guild can gain access to the city once they kill the Frost King, the regional dungeon's final boss. Every large guild is focusing on raiding the regional dungeon. Quite a few superpowers have set their sights on this dark city. The competition in Frozen Scar is intense. I suggest that we pull Snow away from Lakeheart City and gather Zero Wing's forces in Frozen Scar. However, Snow has reported that the situation in Lakeheart City has started to improve, and she can't step away at the moment. I led a portion of our main forces into Frozen Scar, but we're having difficulty competing with those superpowers. Moreover, quite a few dark players have been slaughtering players around White River City, striking fear into the residents' hearts. Some players have even migrated to Star Moon City. We've dispatched quite a few experts to deal with the situation, but that means that I have even less manpower at my disposal. Evernight City was the only dark city in Star Moon Kingdom. It offered a few privileges that most ordinary NPC cities lacked. One of which was a teleportation array connected to Evernight City, which guilds could gain access to once they had enough reputation. The city would build this array in one of the guild's towns or cities, allowing the guild's players to teleport from the guild town or city to Evernight City with ease. Moreover, as a guild increased its status in Evernight City, it would gain access to more teleportation arrays. Ordinary NPC cities didn't have such a privilege to offer. Not only was this convenient for guilds, but it would also aid in their development. There wasn't a lot of distance between Star Moon City and Evernight City. Many players could use Evernight City as a waypoint to reach farther guild towns and grind in the nearby high-level maps without traveling for dozens of hours. Rather than put down roots in a particular guild town permanently, players could treat it like a temporary rest point, moving their operations at a moment's notice if necessary. Independent players would swarm to a guild town tethered to Evernight City, boosting the town's development. Access to Evernight City? Xueqi immediately came to a realization. It was no wonder why Aqua Rose was so nervous. Even Phoenix Rain had tried to contact him several times. If Zero Wing could gain access to Evernight City and secure a teleportation array for Stone Forest Town, it would transform the town. Of course, this was true for other guilds as well. It was no wonder why so many guilds were going mad over this matter. Even the various superpowers wanted in on the action. Guild leader, I'd like Snow to shift her focus away from Lakeheart City for now. If the other guilds kill the Frost King, it will become very difficult for us to gain access to Evernight City, Aqua Rose explained. No. Snow has to keep her focus in Lakeheart, Xueqi said, shaking his head. As for you, give up on raiding Frozen Scar for now. Give up? Xueqi's decision stunned Aqua Rose. Stone Forest Town had only become the #1 town in Star Moon Kingdom after overcoming many challenges. If they let the another guild kill the Frost King before them, they might not be able to maintain Stone Forest Town's position. That's right. Give up on raiding the Frost King. Instead, figure out a way to raid Blizzard Fortress, the team dungeon in the Frozen Scar. Try to get the first clear if possible. Xueqi nodded. Guild leader, that's a level 50, 100-man team dungeon. Aqua Rose was astonished. By the time we obtain the first clear, someone else will kill the Frost King. A level 50, 100-man team dungeon was a massive challenge to any guild at this stage of the game. Raiding one was far more difficult than raiding the Frost King. Based on their investigation, the Frost King was only a level 53 Grand Lord. The only reason it hadn't been raided yet was that no one had found its hiding place deep within the Frozen Scar. Players needed to kill many monsters and bosses in order to reach the final boss. Taking into account the Frozen Scar's severe environment, which increased players' stamina consumption by several times, progress to reach the Frost King was quite slow. They would be crazy to ignore the Frost King, the easier raid target, to challenge the Blizzard Fortress instead. The Frost King is an Ice-type boss. Fighting it without very high ice resistance is nearly impossible, but the weapons and equipment that drop in the Blizzard Fortress are somewhat unique. Almost every item offers high ice resistance. If we have these items, it'll be much easier to raid the Frost King. In any case, with so many guilds in the running, the competition won't conclude for some time. We'll use this opportunity to bolster our team's strength. It won't be too late to raid the Frost King once we've done so, Xueqi said, smiling. He did not bother to explain further details. All right, I understand. I'll try to raid the Blizzard Fortress as quickly as possible. In reality, Aqua Rose still had her doubts. She knew that they had tons of Sea God's blessings in the guild warehouse. The potion could significantly increase a player's resistances. However, since Xueqi had given her an order, it wouldn't be wise to insist against it. She could only try to raid the dungeon as quickly as possible. Following which, Aqua Rose disconnected the call. Meanwhile, Xueqi smiled wryly at Aqua Rose's confusion. He could not reveal too much information. After all, no one had actually raided the Frost King yet. He couldn't just come out and say that players needed a minimum of 300 points of ice resistance to raid the boss. With such a high requirement, not even stacking 2 bottles of Sea God's blessing would be enough. They needed other weapons and equipment to supplement for the missing points. Otherwise, players wouldn't stand a chance against the Frost King. Many guilds had contested for the right to enter Evernight City in the past as well. Similarly, these guilds had focused on clearing a straight path towards the Frost King, expending tons of manpower and resources in the process. However, only after encountering the Frost King did everyone realize how much of a nightmare the boss truly was. In the end, despite only being a Grand Lord, the Frost King had wiped out an army of hundreds of thousands of elite players, transforming them into ice sculptures. However, the fact that Heaven's Burial had gained access to Evernight City concerned Xueqi. When Evernight City had surfaced in the past, over 20 days had passed before the first guild had gained access to the city, yet it had only been a few days, and Heaven's Burial had already entered the city. It was inconceivable. To make matters worse, the first guild to gain access enjoyed additional benefits, which would make it far easier to gain guild reputation in Evernight City. It wouldn't be long before Heaven's Burial connected its guild town to Evernight City. This won't do. I need to hurry. After a 2-hour nap, Xueqi logged into God's domain once more. Chapter 1308. Challenging the Dark Wizard. I recovered faster than I expected. When Xueqi logged back into God's domain, he inspected his status window, noticing that his weakened state was already gone. He was back at his peak. Although the increased time flow in the Dark Canyon was part of the reason for his speedy recovery, the research area's high mana density, which was much higher than in the outside world, had helped. As a result, his weakened state's duration had decreased significantly. Following which, Xueqi took 2 Sea God's blessing bottles from his bag and consumed them. His resistances, particularly magic resistance, increasing by a total of 150 points. He then retrieved an acceleration scroll and gave himself the acceleration buff. Following which, he switched his swordsmanship master title to the basic tyrant title, increasing his fortitude by 30 points, stamina by 20%, and all basic attributes by 5%. After making a series of adjustments, Xueqi pushed his basic attributes and movement speed to his current limit. While Xueqi had rested in his offline space, he had thought about how he would go about stealing the 7 luminary source stone. He had run through several simulations in his mind, afraid of the unexpected. A Tier 5 Grand Wizard was an extremely dangerous opponent. The slightest mistake would result in his death. While Xueqi did not mind dying, his death would result in the loss of the Soul Orb. If he lost the Soul Orb now, he did not know how long it would take to find another one of the 7 treasures again. He couldn't lose the Soul Orb now. Hopefully, the system won't try to mess with me. Xueqi then carefully opened the research room door and snuck in. Raymond was still immersed in his alchemy in the room. He had blocked every distraction from his mind as he focused on his research. Meanwhile, he had placed the 7 luminary source stone above a research table in the center of a small, crimson magic array not far from him. This small magic array utilized the 7 luminary source stone as a power source, supplying the mana Raymond needed to craft his item. Xueqi did not rush to snatch the 7 luminary source stone. Instead, he quietly examined the room's layout and the items around the room. As a God's Domain expert, the first thing he needed to do when encountering a foreign environment was to adapt. This way, he could exert his maximum combat potential during a fight. This time, however, Xueqi didn't observe his surroundings just to adapt, but to locate the research room's treasures as well. He had only reached the Moon God's research room, which had been excellently maintained, after many challenges. He'd do himself a disservice if he stole the 7 luminary source stone and ignored everything else. Every item in the research room was sorely tempting. The alchemy tools on the research tables alone were dark gold rank. Even after a decade of playing God's Domain, such tools had been incredibly precious. Every alchemist constantly hunted such treasures. Xueqi even spotted a complete set on one of the research tables. Aside from the alchemy tools, the research room had quite a few items that radiated divine might. The moon god must have used them all frequently. Any one of these items could easily sell for over 100,000 magic crystals in an auction. There were also quite a few tattered designs on an experiment table. These designs had been crafted with extremely valuable materials. Rather than the standard sheepskin parchment, the designs had been drawn on dragon skin. Only gods would dare use a dragon's skin as parchment. Fortunately, dragon skin parchment would survive storage for tens of thousands of years. As he carefully analyzed the research room, shock bubbled in Xueqi's chest. The research room was a treasure trove. It could likely rival the fallen Arkansas. If only the dark wizard Raymond weren't present. Raymond finally completed the item he had been working on. A golden ring, with a jewel radiating a 7-colored brilliance in its center, floated in the air before him. The jewel also released a frightening pressure. Even Xueqi, who stood far outside of the research room's magic array, felt a significant weight bearing down on him. What is that? Xueqi stared at the golden ring curiously. Very few items in God's domain, aside from items gods had used, emitted that kind of pressure. Every one of these items was a masterpiece. The golden ring's pressure could even rival divine might. After completing the ring, Raymond's hands stopped moving as he began to chant an incantation. A 4-fold magic array then appeared above the golden ring, absorbing the surrounding mana and forcing it into the ring. Like a massive whale taking a breath, the golden ring sucked in the dense mana, yet despite absorbing so much, the ring showed no signs of slowing. A chance. Watching the golden ring absorb mana, Xueqi knew that this the crucial moment to act. If he missed this opportunity, he wasn't likely to get another. Immediately, Xueqi activated Phantom Kill and had his doppelganger stay near the research room's entrance, keeping the door open. He then dashed towards Raymond. Raymond, Dark Shaman King. Human, Grand Wizard. Level 72. HP? / Although Raymond was only level 72, he was a Tier 5 NPC. He detected the fluctuations in the magic array almost immediately, which Xueqi had caused as he ran through it. When Raymond realized that he had an intruder, his gaze turned cold. Die! Without hesitation, Raymond waved his wrinkled arm and gestured towards Xueqi. 5 magic arrays of different colors formed at his fingertips, overlapping. The amount of mana around Raymond's palm even made Xuefeng shudder with fear. This is insane. He's using Elemental Crush, right off the bat? As soon as Xuefeng saw the 5 magic arrays, he recognized the spell. Elemental Crush was a Tier 5, miniature destruction spell. Although the attack's range wasn't large, it was even more frightening than a Tier 5, large-scale destruction spell. If struck, even MTs of the same tier and level would lose half of their HP instantly. However, the spell had a flaw. Its runes were overly complex. The chant was also quite long. Tier 5 Grand Wizards didn't usually use this spell in PvP. However, Raymond could forego both the incantation and runes, casting the spell instantly. Suddenly, space around Xuefeng started to crumble. Everything around him turned dark. In the blink of an eye, everything within 30 yards had been turned to dust. However, just as Raymond thought he had dealt with the intruder and was about to return his focus to the magic array above the golden ring, a figure appeared before him. Close 1. Xuefeng could not help but glance at his previous position, fear lingering in his heart. Fortunately, he had instant strike, which allowed him to teleport to his target. Otherwise, he wouldn't have dodged the spell with his movement speed. Despicable mortal, die! Realizing that Xuefeng was still alive, Raymond grew serious as he activated his domain. In God's domain, there was a saying that those without domains were nothing more than ants underfoot. As long as one activated a domain, they could suppress their enemies. Against weaker opponents, it would be a one-sided slaughter. However, Xuefeng had prepared for Raymond's domain. As soon as he appeared before Raymond, he activated Absolute Time, freezing the area's mana. Even the Dark Shaman King couldn't access the mana. Raymond's spreading domain crumbled instantly. Xuefeng sighed with relief. He knew that Absolute Time wouldn't silence Raymond for more than 10 seconds. He could accept that as long as it was effective against the NPC for even a brief moment. Without hesitation, Xuefeng activated Power of Darkness and Windwalk before dashing towards the 7 Luminary Source Stone. Damnable ant! Seeing Xuefeng run past him, flames of rage burned in Raymond's eyes as he smashed the black metallic staff in his other hand toward Xuefeng. Although Raymond couldn't use his spells, Raymond's physique, strength, and speed were leaps and bounds above the swordsman's. Even without using combat techniques, he could kill Xuefeng instantly. Pang! A metallic clang echoed when the staff crashed into Xuefeng. However, the staff stopped half an inch before Xuefeng, unable to proceed. Defensive Blade. Raymond was helpless against this move. He was a magical class. Without his spells, he couldn't deplete Defensive Blade's block counts quickly. He could only smash his staff into Xuefeng repeatedly to deplete the block counts. This gave Xuefeng enough time to reach the 7 Luminary Source Stone above the research table. With lightning-quick reactions, Xuefeng grabbed the Source Stone and stored it in his bag space. He then turned and fled to another research table. Bastard! You bastard! You dare steal what's mine! Do you think someone like you can last against me for long? Suddenly, Raymond's white hair darkened to black. His wrinkles started to smooth as he began to appear youthful. His aura also seemed to grow more powerful. Taste the wrath of the Dark Shaman King. Chapter 1309. Ring of Gospel. As soon as Raymond finished speaking, a crisp shattering sound rang out inside the research room. The previously frozen mana in the room promptly went berserk, surging towards Raymond. Meanwhile, Raymond began transforming from an elderly man into a dignified youth at a rate visible to the naked eye. In simple terms, the silence effect was achieved through freezing the target's mana flow or retarding it considerably. For Raymond, someone who had gazed into the abyss of magic, resolving such a situation was not a difficult task. Meanwhile, one of the most effective ways to remove a silence debuff was to forcibly break free from the restrictions placed on their mana. This was also the reason why the silence debuff was very weak against high-tiered existences. Disappear from this world. At this moment, not only was Raymond chanting an incantation, but he was also writing runes in midair. Meanwhile, both his chanting and writing speeds were beyond anything Xuefeng had ever seen before. Despite Xueqi having activated a berserk skill and being under the effect of various acceleration skills, before he could even reach the next research table, four magic arrays had already appeared around Raymond. Meanwhile, each magic array gathered a frightening amount of mana. If Phoenix Rain were present right now, she would definitely be stupefied by this scene. The reason for this was the technique Raymond had just displayed. It was literally the ideal sought after by all magical class players. Quadruple speed casting. Moreover, every spell Raymond cast was a Tier 5 spell capable of heavily injuring Tier 5 classes. If struck by all 4 spells, even a Tier 5 player would die instantly. In the next moment, spatial tiers formed around Xueqi, surrounding him. Following which, flames, lightning, and ice began descending from above, sealing off Xueqi's paths of retreat completely. Boom, boom, boom. A series of explosions rang out in the research room in rapid succession. If not for this room being the creation of the moon god, it would have been reduced to a pile of rubble already. However, after suffering this bombardment, Xueqi still managed to arrive at the research table safely, where he frantically grabbed everything he could. He did not pay attention to what his hands picked up as he tossed everything into his bag. He even went as far as implementing Sword's orbit with his arms to increase his looting efficiency. After plundering everything on the research table, he headed straight for the experiment table with the dragon skin parchments on it. Damnable ant! Who gave you the 7 luminaries ring? Raymond shouted reflexively in both surprise and rage when he noticed the golden divine runes flowing around Xueqi's body. In the next instant, however, Raymond's eyes turned red with greed and passion. Don't think that the 7 luminaries ring's power can save you. Before me, nobody can escape. If you hand over the 7 luminaries ring now, I can promise to turn you into my servant and let you have the opportunity to come into contact with the abyss of magic. However, Xueqi did not respond to Raymond's demand as he continued his looting operation without pause. Xueqi knew full well that the aura of Earth's absolute defense would not last long. Moreover, even skills that provided invulnerability couldn't offer unlimited protection against someone like the Black Shaman King. After all, nothing was truly invulnerable. It was only a matter of whether one was strong enough to overcome a particular invulnerability effect. If the 7 luminaries ring he possessed right now were the real deal, needless to say, defending against Raymond's attacks would be a piece of cake. However, the 7 luminaries ring he possessed was a replica. It wasn't a godly relic. Just being able to ward off Raymond's quadruple casting was already fortunate. If Raymond really got serious, absolute defense most likely wouldn't be able to stop the NPC's attacks. Since you're not willing to hand it over, become my living puppet. Raymond began chanting once again. Unlike before, however, his chanting speed was not particularly fast this time. Moreover, the runes he wrote were incomparably complex. Even Xueqi, someone who had conducted plenty of research into runes and magic arrays, could not identify what those runes were meant for. Not daring to be careless, Xueqi started looting the items on the experiment table as soon as he arrived before it. Absolute defense's duration had less than 2 seconds remaining. Although he could not plunder the entire experiment table, he took most of the items on it. At this time, Raymond pointed his staff at Xueqi and shouted, "Shatter!" In the next moment, a black beam of light shot at Xueqi's body. Immediately, the divine runes surrounding Xueqi's body started crumbling. It was obvious that Raymond's attack had broken through absolute defense. "Become my loyal slave." Raymond then slammed the butt of his staff on the floor. A shadow instantly formed beneath Xueqi's feet. Gray strands slowly rose from the shadow, binding Xueqi's body. Why does he know even the necromancer class's dark bondage? Xueqi frowned when he saw the gray strands wrapped around his feet. Dark bondage was a Tier 4 spell that could turn a living creature into one's slave. The success rate of the spell depended on the user's and target's levels and tiers. On average, the success rate was very low. Of course, this was only in the case of players. It was a different story if a powerful NPC like Raymond cast the spell. When nearly half of Xueqi's body was bound, Raymond revealed a sneer on his face. Divine steps. Suddenly, 10 doppelgangers formed around Xueqi. He then chose to switch positions with one of them. Even a spell like Dark Bondage couldn't stop Xueqi from swapping places with his doppelganger. He promptly took another item from the experiment table. However,
As soon as Xueqi stored the item into his bag, he suddenly found himself as well as his 10 doppelgangers appearing before Raymond.
What? He knows even the Tier 5 curse space conversion? Xueqi was surprised as he swept a glance at his surroundings. Hurriedly, he started switching places with his other doppelgangers, which were slightly farther away from Raymond. At this time, Raymond also activated his domain once more, directly suppressing Xueqi and preventing him from moving whatsoever. Only Xueqi's 10 doppelgangers, which were invulnerable like Xueqi, could still move. However, no matter where the doppelgangers went, as long as they remained inside the range of Raymond's domain, even if Xueqi switched places with them, he still couldn't budge from there. A futile effort. Raymond waved his staff once more, and his surroundings turned into a world of frost, trapping Xueqi's doppelgangers. Although the doppelgangers were invulnerable, they did not possess the ability to pass through physical objects. Without any strength of their own, they could only remain trapped inside the ice.
Is that so?
At this moment, Xueqi revealed a faint smile as he switched places with the doppelganger that stood less than a yard away from the golden ring.
He had not hurried to leave and dared to take sure, bold actions, all because he had suddenly recalled something about this golden ring.
In the past, the alliance of superpowers had been able to kill the Dark Shaman King because they had managed to destroy one of the NPC's items at the cost of plenty of sacrifices. That item was the Ring of Gospel. It was also the key to killing the Dark Shaman King.
The item Raymond had been producing happened to have the shape of a circular ring.
As a result, Xueqi could not help but link it with the Ring of Gospel. Since he had already made it all the way here, he naturally could not let such a good opportunity get away. Despicable rat. Dang. When Raymond saw Xueqi grabbing the golden ring, he was like a cat that just got its tail stepped on. He literally jumped up in anger before bombarding Xueqi with one Tier 4 spell after another. At this point, he had lost all intentions of making Xueqi a puppet. One after another, silvery white frost lances began shooting at Xueqi from all directions. The cold air radiated by every one of these frost lances made Xueqi shudder. He could also faintly see golden arcs of electricity wreathing these frost lances. As they moved, even their surrounding space showed signs of shattering. Xueqi did not doubt that even one hit from these frost lances would kill him instantly. I can't stay here any longer. This time, Xueqi knew that Raymond was no longer holding back. Immediately, he chose to switch positions with the doppelganger summoned through Phantom Kill. Boom, boom, boom. As soon as he switched positions, hundreds of frost lances pierced his doppelganger, killing it on the spot. The doppelganger did not even have time to react. He really is too strong. Standing by the research room's entrance, Xueqi was greatly shocked by this scene.
He hurriedly left the room, not daring to remain even a moment longer.
Meanwhile, as soon as he exited, he sealed the door, using the moon god's secret key. The instant the room was sealed, Xueqi felt the door shaking violently. Chapter 1310, Moon God's Secret Record.
The door of the research room was made using a special method.
Moreover, the moon god had reinforced it with divine runes. Even a Tier 5 Grand Wizard would have difficulty leaving a scratch on it. However, the violent tremors of the door made Xueqi doubt it could hold back the Dark Shaman King. After all, Raymond was an NPC capable of becoming the final boss of one of God's domain's major expansion packs. He definitely was not an existence that ordinary Tier 5 NPCs could compare to. In retrospect, considering how several superpowers had needed to work together to defeat Raymond, Xueqi could only conclude that Raymond had to be at the demigod standard already. Thinking up to this point, Xueqi felt that he still wasn't safe. He left the research area right away. When he entered the corridor leading out of the research area, he even used the moon god's secret key to seal off the corridor. Although the corridor's seal was not as powerful as the door of the research room, it could more or less stop Raymond for a short while. After Xueqi left the research area, it was as if he had entered a whole other world. When he exited the corridor, he arrived at a place filled with greenery. He could see hills and waterfalls in the distance as well as hear bird calls and smell flowers. He could also pick up the roars of many demonic beasts. At the same time, he spotted many demonic patrol squads making the rounds of the forest paths. Although the guards in these demonic patrol squads were not as strong as the demons guarding the inner courtyard, each patrol still consisted of 1 level 70, Tier 3 demonic guard and 9 level 70, Tier 2 demonic soldiers. To Xueqi, who currently couldn't summon his personal guards and mount, they were extremely dangerous opponents. Immediately after, the sound of a system notification entered Xueqi's ears. System. You have discovered the top floor of the Demon Ceiling Tower, Moon God Space. What? This is the top floor of the Demon Ceiling Tower? Xueqi was stunned when he looked at the system notification. Based on the system map, the Demon Ceiling Tower had a total of 36 floors. Meanwhile, each floor could easily fit a small town inside. If Xueqi had tried climbing from the first floor to the top floor, he would have needed plenty of time. Although he had already steeled himself for a long battle, climbing all 36 floors would not have been an easy task. Previously, Xueqi had still thought that spending 507 luminary shards to teleport to the research area had not been worth it. Now, however, it would seem that he had just made a huge profit. Immediately, Xueqi found a safe location to hide before adjusting his mental state and organizing the items he looted. From beginning to end, his exchange with Raymond had lasted only 7 or 8 seconds.
However, despite this brevity, his stamina and concentration had been depleted as if he had fought normally for several hours.
The exchange had taken a severe toll on his concentration. In particular, due to the frightening pressure Raymond gave off, as well as the NPC's domain, every second he spent fleeing from the NPC was equivalent to fighting against an opponent of equal strength for an hour. In fact, from the moment Xueqi started facing off against Raymond until he exited the research room, Xueqi had not even taken a breath. After all, even the slightest delay in his actions could lead to his death, rendering all his efforts since entering God's domain useless. One could imagine just how much pressure Xueqi felt during those short 7 or 8 seconds. Hence, Xueqi wished to slowly relax his tense mental state. Meanwhile, at the Azura Mode regional dungeon Frozen Scar, many of Star Moon Kingdom's powerful and well-known guilds were currently gathered here. There were even large guilds from other kingdoms and empires coming to raid the regional dungeon. At this moment, hundreds of thousands of elite and expert players were at Frozen Scar, and the competition here was considerably intense. In just the few short hours since Frozen Scar became a regional dungeon, over 50,000 elite players had already died in it. This situation immediately deterred members of small guilds and independent players from entering the dungeon. However, in one forest filled with snow, a 1,000-man legion was calmly pressing forward. The legion easily killed off any level 46 Lord-ranked snow yetis and level 45 elite-ranked snow giants and steadily advanced towards the location of the Frost King. When the elite legions of other guilds came across this legion, they would hurriedly avoid it, afraid of provoking it. After all, the guild this 1,000-man legion belonged to was none other than Heaven's Burial, the official number 2 guild of Star Moon Kingdom. Currently, Singular Burial was even personally leading this elite legion. Among the members of this legion, even the weakest was level 41, whereas the experts were level 42. There were even some experts that had reached level 43. Meanwhile, these players were all geared in level 40 top-tier equipment, with the most inferior being fine gold rank and the majority being dark gold rank. The strongest among all these players was Singular Burial. Although he was only level 43, he was equipped with the level 45 dark gold set equipment for rangers, the 100 Beast set, and wielded a pitch-black double-stringed bone bow that gave off the epic rank glow effect. Despite going up against over 50 Frost Yetis and 1,000 Frost Giants, Singular Burial managed to command his team properly and keep the situation under control. In the end, Heaven's Burial's elite legion bombarded these monsters to death without even a break in their front line. This situation inspired serious envy in the players from other guilds watching from afar. Just as Singular Burial and his team were cleaning up the remnant Frost Giants, he suddenly received a communication request. "Ghost, did something happen on your side?" Singular Burial asked as he looked at the indifferent level 43 assassin in the screen. "Something happened over at Zero Wing's side," Ghost Shadow reported. For some reason, instead of advancing towards the Frost King, Zero Wing's team has actually turned around and is currently headed towards the Blizzard Fortress. By the looks of it, they are planning on raiding the dungeon. Raiding the Blizzard Fortress? Singular Burial could not help but be stunned. "Are you sure?" Blizzard Fortress is a level 50 large-scale team dungeon. Why are they even trying to raid it? For them to give up on the Frost King so willingly, could they have discovered something we don't know? The information regarding the Frost King was something he had released to the public himself. Meanwhile, his reason for doing so was to lure Zero Wing's main force over and use the opportunity to weaken it. At the same time, he could also complete his quest. I don't know. However, the information about them heading towards the Blizzard Fortress is definitely true. As for Zero Wing's elite members, they have also left Frozen Scar already. Ghost Shadow was similarly confused by this situation. Killing the Frost King would grant a guild access to Evernight City. Yet Zero Wing had actually given up such a good opportunity in favor of raiding a dungeon. Moreover, it was even a level 50 large-scale team dungeon. Even he, an expert who had fought in the virtual gaming world for many years now, could not understand what Zero Wing was trying to do. Forget it. Ignore them for now. You and your men regroup with us as well. The number of guilds joining the competition is growing increasingly higher, so we need to hurry up ourselves. Once we're done with our quest, Star Moon Kingdom will become Heaven's Burial's possession. Even if Zero Wing manages to raid the dungeon, it would be useless, Singular Burial said, sneering. I've really lucked out this time. Xueqi could not help sighing happily as he looked at his bag space. Previously, all of his attention had been on Raymond. Hence, when he was looting, he simply shoved everything he could get his hands on into his bag without caring what they were. Now that he got to take a closer look, however, even Xueqi himself was stupefied by the spoils. Among the items he looted were 8 dark gold alchemy tools. There was also a set of dark gold alchemy tools made from magic jade called the Green Jade set. If placed on the market, this set could easily sell for over 30,000 gold. On its own, magic jade possessed the ability to absorb mana from its surroundings. When made into an alchemy tool, it could pull out the best effects of herbs. In total, the complete set of magic jade alchemy tools increased alchemy success rates by 10% and alchemy production speeds by 20%. There was also a 3% chance for the created product to have its effects strengthened. In the past, even Grandmaster alchemists had been extremely eager to get their hands on such a set. Unfortunately, even super guilds had a very difficult time obtaining a set of dark gold alchemy tools, not to mention something like the Green Jade set. Aside from alchemy tools, Xueqi's bag had many sheets of ancient, tattered pages. Recorded on these pages were recipes made by the Moon God. However, as the pages were dilapidated, they could not be used. After Xueqi used omniscient eyes to appraise one of the tattered pages, the sound of a system notification suddenly entered his ears. System. Ancient tattered page discovered. Repairing it requires 100 magic crystals. Dragon skin parchment sure is amazing. Even after enduring tens of thousands of years of corrosion, it can still be repaired using magic crystals. No wonder gods would use dragon skin parchment to make records in ancient times. Realization dawned upon Xueqi. Having picked up so many tattered pages, he never hoped that every one of them would still be usable. He would be fine with just one. At the very least, he wouldn't have wasted his precious time trying to collect all these tattered pages. Hence, it was truly surprising that the pages could be repaired. Xueqi started repairing page after page right away. As he repaired the pages, he also organized them based on the page numbers, and surprisingly, the pages actually automatically combined. After around 10 minutes passed, he was finally done repairing all 31 pages he picked up. Suddenly, the combined pages transformed into a thick, ancient book that radiated a faint trace of divine might. Meanwhile, there were 4 words, written in the ancient divine language, on the cover of this ancient book. Moon God's Secret Record. Chapter 1311. Upgrading to Fragmented Legendary Rank. What? This is the Moon God's secret record. Xueqi stared at the ancient book in his hands time and again, his heart unable to calm down even after some time. Even his breathing right now had bated. There were 5 great alchemy scriptures in God's domain. These 5 great alchemy scriptures were like the Holy Bible to alchemists and were highly sought after.
In the past, every alchemist that had managed to get their hands on these alchemy scriptures had become famous individuals in the alchemy world.
Meanwhile, one of the 5 great alchemy scriptures was the moon god's secret record.
Legend had it that the moon god had edited it extensively. However, many wars had also been waged between kingdoms and empires because of the moon god's secret record, and it ended up divided and scattered all over God's domain. Eventually, with the passage of time, the moon god's secret record had disappeared entirely.
Xueqi had never imagined that he would actually come across the moon god's secret record, and even obtain it, in the moonlight courtyard. Following which, he clicked excitedly to check the attribute panel of the moon god's secret record. Moon God's Secret Record, Volume 1. A detailed compilation of the moon god's experiences and techniques in alchemy. There is a total of 3 volumes. One can obtain the moon god's legacy when all 3 volumes are collected. It's actually split into 3 volumes? Xueqi's initially passionate heart cooled down immediately.
However, after giving the matter some thought, he found the situation reasonable.
The moon god's secret record had been contested by ancient kingdoms and empires many times before. On the other hand, it had been many years since anyone had set foot into the moonlight courtyard. It was clear that the moon god's secret record here did not possess any relation to the ancient wars waged on the continent of God's domain. The only explanation for there being a copy here was that there wasn't only one moon god's secret record. Nevertheless, Xueqi was already very satisfied with this outcome. Among the 3 volumes comprising the moon god's secret record, the first volume contained information regarding the various materials in God's domain. It was like an alchemy encyclopedia. With this book, players could understand the various properties of alchemy materials and establish a solid foundation for when they were trying to create new recipes. The reason why Titan City's research rooms could aid players in reaching the Master and Grandmaster ranks was mainly because of the wealth of information contained within the rooms. Meanwhile, the research information of the moon god was most likely not one bit inferior when compared to the alchemy database of Titan City. The Candlelight trading firm would have a much easier time nurturing master alchemists. Following which, Xueqi stored the moon god's secret record and began checking the other items he obtained. Although Xueqi had placed all of his attention on Raymond inside the research room, before he sprang into action, he had already planned to take away the several items that radiated divine might.
Excellent.
There are exactly 6 god crystals. Xueqi grew excited as he looked at the 6 items radiating divine might in his bag. Currently, the soul orb was missing only 6 god crystals to remove the first seal Paimon placed. Although there were bound to be many more god crystals, which he had not managed to discover, left inside the research room, Xueqi had spotted only 8 items with a high potential of being used as god crystals. Meanwhile, as he was looting the room, he had managed to grab only 7 of those items. If he had tried going for the last one, there was over a 90% chance that Raymond would have killed him. Fortunately, his insight wasn't too bad. Of the 7 possibles he picked up, after going through the omniscient eyes appraisal, 6 were confirmed to be god crystals. That was just the right number to lift the first seal on the soul orb. This was also the reason why he had chosen to challenge the Azura mode promotion quest back then. As long as he removed the first seal, the soul orb would become his item entirely. Even if he died, he would not have to worry about the soul orb being teleported back to Paimon's hands. Even if he failed his promotion quest this time, he would not have made a wasted trip. Thinking up to this point, Xueqi took out the soul orb and started letting it absorb the god crystals one after another. 1 crystal, 2 crystals, 3 crystals. With each god crystal absorbed, the demonic power the soul orb radiated weakened slightly. At the same time, the pressure it emitted also strengthened. When the soul orb absorbed the last god crystal, it suddenly struggled free from Xueqi's grasp and flew up into the air. It then formed in the sky a 7-fold magic array covering a radius of over 1,000 yards. The amount of mana the magic array drew was several times more than when Raymond was mobilizing the mana in the research room. Meanwhile, the pressure the soul orb emitted also transformed into divine might. Like a slumbering dragon awakening, the soul orb made the distant demonic beasts and demons shudder involuntarily, their bodies collapsing to the ground as they became paralyzed with fear. A frightening mana vortex then formed around the soul orb. A will descended from the soul orb with pitch-black demonic power vying to suppress this will. Who is it? Who dares break my seal? an illusory figure suddenly appeared in midair. Although Xueqi could not get a clear look at this figure's appearance, the way the figure looked down on all life forms and the aura of a ruler the figure exuded prompted Xueqi to lower his head instinctively. Meanwhile, the rage contained in that figure's voice made even Xueqi's soul shudder. Fortunately, when the soul orb broke through the suppression of the demonic power, this illusory figure also disappeared. With the removal of the seal, the soul orb's appearance underwent significant changes. Now, faintly visible golden divine runes circulated on the surface of the orb. Meanwhile, its size also shrank. Previously, it was roughly the same size as an adult's fist. Now it was only half that size. When the soul orb landed back on Xueqi's palm, he no longer felt like he was under surveillance. Soul Orb, Fragmented Legendary Rank Item. Originally a fragment of the Treasure of Illusion. However, due to being refined by the demon god Paimon, the fragment's true power has been sealed. Currently, a small portion of its power has been repaired. Additional active skill 1 - Soul Water. Creates soul water from the souls willingly contributed by players. No cooldown. Every 50 souls of players absorbed will produce 1 drop of soul water. Additional active skill 2 - Crystal of Souls. Creates a crystal of souls through absorbing a portion of monster souls. No cooldown. Every 30 souls of monsters at Great Lord rank or above absorbed will produce 1 crystal of souls. Monster's level must be 5 levels higher than Wielder. Additional active skill 3 - Divine Power Absorption. Absorbs divine power to recover the soul orb itself. There are a total of 3 seals. The removal of the second seal requires 10 god crystals. Current absorbed number, 0. Although demon god Paimon has sealed the soul orb, it has been awakened by the golden stigmata. The seal can be removed by absorbing divine power. Cannot be destroyed. Owner: Yi Feng. If this item is wielded by anyone else, they will receive a backlash from both demonic power and divine power. Amazing. These attributes are truly amazing. Xueqi was astounded by the text introduction of the soul orb. Back when the soul orb was still at epic rank, it was already plenty amazing. Now that it had recovered and reached the fragmented legendary rank, its attributes had become even more awesome. Not only was the number of souls required for the soul water halved, but now, he could even produce the crystal of souls. Although making a crystal of souls was much more troublesome than the process for the soul water, the crystal of souls was an item that could be obtained only through luck in God's domain. Meanwhile, the crystal of souls could not only raise a player's focus like the soul water could but also gather mana around itself, allowing players to remain at peak mental conditions and further increasing their focus. Moreover, the crystal of souls had a duration of 5 hours, while its cooldown was 10 hours. In God's domain, the crystal of souls could rank within the top 10 among the various support items for combat players. Normally, the crystal could only be found in ancient ruins. Now that the soul orb had gained such an ability, Xueqi could not help but wish he could immediately set out and massacre a bunch of great lords. Moreover, even if he died now, the soul orb would not drop from his bag. He could move about without fear. At the same time, without the surveillance of the demon god, dark players would have a difficult time finding out that the soul orb was in his hands. However, Xueqi did not know that after he lifted the seal, a commotion erupted among all the dark forces. The original bounty Paimon had placed on Xueqi had already tempted many people into action. Now, however, the bounty became even more lavish. System: Demon god Paimon has sent out a recovery order for the soul orb. As long as one can kill the soul orb's wielder and obtain the soul orb, demon god Paimon will personally promote them to the Viscount rank as well as provide abundant rewards. Those who wish to accept the quest need to pay 2,000 magic crystals. Do you wish to accept the quest? This quest is valid long-term and can be accepted at any time. This quest does not have a time limit. When this recovery order was released, it immediately tempted countless dark players into action. It was already plenty difficult to get promoted to the Baron rank. Yet now, the demon god Paimon was actually offering to raise them directly to the Viscount rank, which was 1 rank higher than Baron. How could they not be tempted? Elsewhere, Xueqi remained ignorant of this matter. He simply sat quietly beneath a tree as he carefully admired the golden ring he had stolen from the Dark Shaman King, Raymond. You're tuning in to the Xueqi's Martial Arts Saga YouTube channel.
Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.